Have you started recording as yet?
Yes, I just started, so.
All right, awesome. So good morning all. It is a pleasure to see you all, whether the pictures or the names. I hope that you all had a wonderful week past and the beginning of a new week with you all learning how we can have more food in our household is absolutely fantastic. And the devotion this morning is looking at Psalm 46 and verse 10. Being still and knowing who God is. And as farmers or as novice farmers, two things that God always teaches us as we use our hands in the soil is to be still, to wait, and to know that God is God. When we put that seed in the hole or when we transplant that small plant into the hole, we have to be still and wait for it to grow. And we have to know that God is in charge. He's the one that controls the wind, the rain, the sun, the heat, and all the pests. And He will let us know how we can deal with it. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Thank you, Father, for waking us up this morning. Thank you, Father, for this amazing class. Thank you, Father, for Dr. George and the co-host and Pastor Clark and all the others that put this together. Be with us, and thank you for the message that you're going to give each and every one of us through this devotion. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Let's take a closer look at Psalm 46 and verse 10. Be still. All right, so as I do the devotion, I'm asking all please to mute their mic. And Dr. George, could you just mute the participant's mic as well, please? Thank you. Activity born out of anxiety actually prevents God from showing himself strong on our behalf. This doesn't mean that we need to be lazy or passive. It means that we're doing what God leads us to do without running ahead of him. It means that we are submitting to God and we are slowing down and we are waiting. Why? To make sure that you and I have a sense of peace to go along with the ideas that we believe that God is giving us. Ask God to reveal his will so that we can then be still and acknowledge that he is in charge and he knows exactly what he's doing. Number two, the second part of the text, know that I am God. This means that we acknowledge that we are not God. When we don't obey God, when we don't consult him or recognize his timing, what we do is we remove him from the throne of our life and we end up trying to take his place. And we know very well that that doesn't work, right? We hear a lot about goal setting and vision. And it's actually a scriptural principle. For where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained. Proverbs 29 and verse 18. But the Bible also says in Habakkuk 2 and verse 3, the vision is for an appointed time. Though it tarries, wait for it. You'll never fulfill your vision without the help of the one who gave it to you. 19th century American clergyman Henry Ward Beecher said, the strength of a man consists in finding out the way God is going and going that way. Today, let us remember that there is no time lost if you and I are waiting on the Lord. So don't let a how-to seminar or type A personality stampede you into getting ahead of God or attempting to forge ahead under your own steam. As farmers, God is teaching us how to be still and know that he is God. Is Mr. Oliver still present with us?
Yes, I am.
Awesome, good. I would like you to do the closing prayer first, please, in keeping with what the devotion was on Psalm 46:10, being still and knowing that God is in control.
Okay. Okay, I will. You're gonna catch me in my yard when I put my video on, so I hope you don't mind.
Not at all. Let's see God's nature. And I know your
All
mom would be
right.
happy to see you.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yes, definitely. Good morning, everyone. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Dear kind of Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for bringing us to yet another one of our faith farming classes. I want to thank you for everyone that has gathered here on this Zoom session. I pray in a special way that as the devotion pointed us out, we have to wait on you, Lord. Many times we like to get ahead of you, but let us walk in school and let us not try to take things into our own hands. Just as we have to wait for our seeds to sprout out and we have to wait for them to grow and bear fruit, we pray that you may instill on our hearts the ability to have patience and wait on you, for your timing is always perfect. Thank you for everyone once again, and help that you may have a blessed class. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
so
Lord,
much.
for that, son. Thank you, Lord, for that, son.
Amen.
Amen.
I pass over to you, Dr. George.
Yes.
All right,
We bring
thank
it
you
to
very much.
preach.
And Pastor Clark. All right, so this morning we are quite fortunate to have two very important persons with us who will be sharing with us some of the questions that you all have been asking for the past, how many weeks? Almost a month. All right, and that is questions related to pests and diseases. Okay, so first we will have Professor Duraisamy Saravanakumar. He's a plant pathologist, as I was explaining to you all in the chat room last night, and he will deal with all the diseases. All right. He's a very young and vibrant professor. He has been working here in Trinidad with us for the past about 5-6 years and doing a tremendous job, especially with the farmers in Trinidad. I'm looking for alternative ways of controlling diseases in particular. All right. He is from India, and he has been, as I mentioned, with us for some time here in Trinidad. So he has a beautiful wife and 2 daughters, and he actually has a Trinidadian daughter. His little daughter was born here in Trinidad. All right. So I want to turn over to Professor Saravanakumar, and please give him your undivided attention, and don't forget to put all your questions in the chat room, and Miss Green, she will direct the questions to Professor Sarah. Okay? All right, so I'm turning over to Professor Sarah now. Professor Sarah, you're free to go ahead and share your slides with us. And we want to see you as well too, please, so you can show yourself.
Hi, pleasant morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Hope you are seeing me now. I don't know whether my camera works.
Yes, we can see
Yes,
you
we're
clearly.
seeing you.
Okay, it's very casual way, right? But I'm glad to see 37 participants here. Even I don't get this number on time in my regular classes in UWI. So I'm very happy to see you all, right? And also I have to thank Dr. Wendy and Isaac for this wonderful opportunity to share some of my experiences with you all, right? So I will just take off my video, right? And I'm going to share these slides with you so that you will be able to view it as well. Hope everyone is hearing me clearly.
Yes, we can. Professor Sarah, is it okay if we also see your face while you're doing the presentation?
Okay, no problem. I'll just again turn it on.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, okay, that's fine. Let's go. So today I'm going to talk something on plant disease identification and management. As introduced, my name is Duraisamy Saravanakumar, and this is my email address. You can send your queries or responses if I'm not able to answer during this particular lecture, right? So the plant diseases are very important one when it comes to plant health management. When we grow plants, plants are affected by several problems, like it may have some nutritional deficiencies, and it may have the pests, and it may have the diseases, and also it may have some of the abiotic disorders and plant physiological disorders. Like human beings, the plants also, when we grow them, and they tend to get sick, starting from the seedling to the fruiting, and even after fruiting and even after harvest, they tend to get some diseases. And here, if you see, for the disease identification, always the diagnosis or identification is actually the process of elimination. If we sick and if we go to the doctor, then the doctor will ask so many questions. What happened to us? And only based on what we describe, the doctor will prescribe the medicines. So in that case, the disease diagnosis is based on the symptoms. And here in case of plants also, when plants get sick because of the microorganisms, and the plants, they will not come and tell, hey, see, I'm sick. But we have to see the symptoms, and we have to identify, and we have to diagnose based on the knowledge and based on the information that we have. And here, if you see, the plant diseases are caused by several microorganisms. But these three are the major microorganisms, like fungi, bacteria, and viruses. And I'm very sure that you'll be very familiar with the viruses because of this COVID-19 situation, which is caused by the viruses. If you see the fungi, bacteria, and viruses that are causing the plant diseases are different from the fungi and bacteria and viruses causing diseases on the animals as well as on the humans. And one or two may have some diseases on humans as well as on the plants. But here, in this case, if you see, most of the microorganisms that are causing the diseases on plants will not have disease or the infection on humans as well as on the animals, and vice versa. Here in this case, as I told you, when we go for the disease diagnosis, we have to exclude and we have to see whether it is an insect or it is a disease or it is caused by any other abiotic disorders, like because of the changes in the weather conditions like temperature or moisture, or is because of the drought conditions. Even if we don't water the plant, then the plant will show some of the sickness like wilting and yellowing. So in such instances, we should not confuse that with the plant diseases caused by the microorganisms. So we should be able to correlate all the factors, and once we are doing that, then we will be able to precisely say this is actually a disease caused by the microorganisms. And in this case, the fungi, bacteria, and viruses, we will not be able to see through naked eyes. We need the microscope as well as some lenses to see some of these structures. And even in case of viruses, it would be difficult to see the structures of the viruses
Hi, Professor Sarah, we're not hearing you.
Hello? Okay, he's Professor Sarah. Could you, no, awesome.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
think, someone, mute my mic, it seems.
Yes,
Yeah,
I did. I did that.
Okay.
My apologies. I was trying to mute everybody again.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah,
That's okay.
I haven't checked. Yeah, I was just, talking to my slides. Okay, so just I was saying, when it comes to the insects, and you will see the insects as well as the excreta, and based on that, you could say that is the insect. But in case of the diseases, the fungi, bacteria, and viruses, and in addition to that, we also have several microorganisms which could also cause diseases. But Here, we are going to concentrate on the fungal, bacterial, and viral diseases, which you could see while you grow the plants in your backyard or in the home gardens. Because I have prepared the presentation having it in my mind, most of you are interested in home gardening or else the backyard gardening, right? So first we will see the symptoms of the fungal diseases. The fungi, if you see, it is here in this slide, you could see how the fungal microbe will look like, or this is called the mycelium. And when you look into the microscope, you will see different structures. There are thousands of fungi which cause thousands of diseases in plants. Each plant will get a different disease from the another one. Here, this one is a hot pepper affected with anthracnose disease. And this is actually the anthracnose fungi isolated from this one. And we will be observing this in the microscope. And based on the structures, we will still confirm whether it is the anthracnose or it is because of the other fungal pathogens. But in field conditions, you will not be able to do all these things. Only based on the symptoms, we will be able to define or confine, and we could say this could be this particular disease. And here we are going to see some of the symptoms, and I have organized my presentation in such a way so that you will be able to see the diseases that are affecting the leaves and diseases that are affecting the stems. Also, I have organize my presentation in a way so that we will see the symptoms of the fungal diseases first, and symptoms of the bacterial diseases, and symptoms of the viral diseases. Let us go with these symptoms of fungal diseases first. So this one is the most common leaf spot in most of the vegetables. And here you could see this one. This is actually celery, or it's a seasoning vegetable. And here you could see white or ash gray color center, and the leaf spots. Leaf spots will be small here, and later they will enlarge and they will merge together and they will cause the symptoms like this. In case of diseases, what you're supposed to do, you have to observe the diseases at different stages. All of a sudden, you will not see this bigger symptom. You will see initially the small spots, then they will enlarge, and then they will merge together and they will cause the drying or blighted appearance of the leaves. Also, if you closely observe, within that leaf spot, you will be able to see some small minute black dots. Those minute dark dots, they are actually the sporulating body of the fungi. And those sporulating body of the fungi, they will have millions of spores. And what will happen when rainfall or when you sprinkle the water, and those spores will splash it onto the healthy leaves, then again it spread the disease. Here similarly, if you see here, this is again another leafy vegetable which most of us grow in home gardening conditions. And this one is again the same disease, fungal disease called Cercospora. And here in this case also you could see the small spots like this, then they will enlarge. And here at the center you could see some white dots as well, right? And this white dot will fall, and later you will see small short holes. And sometimes you may actually confuse this with some of the insects affecting the plants. But this one is actually the Cercospora leaf spot disease. And here, this is most common in most of the vegetables like lettuce and celery and okra and so many vegetables. Let us move on to the next disease that could affect the leaves. And here you are seeing this tomato plant and giving the blighted appearance. And this blighted appearance is caused by the fungi called Alternaria. And here again, I'm going to zoom this. Hope you are seeing all these pictures clearly, right?
Yes, we can see them quite clearly.
Okay, great. So in case of fungi, as I told you, within the leaf spot, you will be able to see some black dot or some wavy margins or concentric rings like this. And here you are seeing these concentric rings. So this indicates that this is the disease caused by the microorganism. More specifically, this is caused by a fungal microorganisms. In case of fungal microorganisms, if we see, they have the cell wall, cell structure, and mitochondria, and the nuclei, and nuclear membrane, and everything. It's a full-fledged structure. But whereas in case of bacteria, it also has the cell wall, cell membrane, but the nucleus inside that is not organized into the nuclear membrane. But whereas in case of the viruses, what happens? The viruses, they just have only the RNA or DNA, which is circled by the protein coat. That is why it is very difficult to discover or develop any vaccines or else any drugs against the viruses. That is why we don't have any viricides or the chemical that can directly kill the viruses. But whereas in case of the fungi and whereas in case of the bacteria, we have a lot of chemicals as well as the drugs and vaccines that could be used against the fungi and bacteria. And here, if you see this particular one, and you could see the concentric rings, and initially this will be small spot like this, then they will actually enlarge and they will join together. And here you could see the concentric rings, and within that as well you could see the small black dots. And here you could see the whole plant is fully affected by this alternaria blight, and again this is leaf disease. So the next one is the rust disease, and here some leaves, they may also get red colored spots on the leaves, and later they will turn into dark. And here if you see, this is on beans. Here you can see the red color, then later it turns into orange or else it turns into black color. And here if you see, they will join together, and again yellowing of leaves, then defoliation will occur. Defoliation in the sense all the leaves will fall down. And here when it comes to rust disease, there is a story or else there is a event that's coming into my mind. The science of plant pathology has actually started with this rust disease, right? Some 200 years ago in Europe, cereal, wheat, which was actually grown to feed the whole European countries. They were actually growing wheat, that is the cereal, right? When they were growing that, all of a sudden, they were seeing some red colored spots on the cereal leaves. Then during that time, the people thought that it could be because of the God's curse to the human beings due to his increased wicked and criminal activities. So what people did, they actually prayed and they brought some holy water and they actually sprinkled in the field. And also they were actually asking the God to cure this problem. And again, they also brought some red colored animals like horses and dogs, and they were actually offered all those red colored animals to the god to pacify or to please the god to cure all those diseases in the field. And even that time they did not know that is the disease, and that was actually caused by the microorganism. Then after the invention of the microscope, they actually realized that that is actually a disease. And even during that time, they celebrated a festival called Rubigalia, and by having the god name Rubigo, that is actually happened in Europe. And after the invention of the microscope only, they realized that this is not because of anything, but because of the microorganisms. So the microorganisms, then since then, there were several developments have been taken place. Then that's why the people have shifted their cultivation from wheat to potato. And that's how the potato was introduced to it. Then again in potato also they were seeing some diseases. Then again, they confirmed that is because of the microorganisms. From then, the science of plant pathology has developed a lot. Here in this case, the rust, you could see clearly the symptoms. And also when you grow plants, you will also get this kind of powdery growth on leaves. Hope you are able to see here, like powdery coating on the stem as well as on the upper side and lower side of the leaves. And this is known as the mildew, And this kind of diseases you will get during the dew conditions. That is why they call it as the powdery mildew. When there is low night temperature and when there is high dew, and you may get this kind of diseases. Then again, these diseases, they may affect the photosynthesis and vigor and growth of the plants. So these are some of the common diseases that affects the leaves, the fungal diseases. There are some other diseases as well, but considering the time, I haven't included those in this particular presentation. If you have any particular questions related to the plants that you are growing in your garden, and if you post the pictures, and I will be able to give you answers for that. Also, when you grow plants, as I told you, starting from the seedling till harvest, you may get the diseases. And here, this is actually the anthracnose, another disease. And here also, if you closely observe, you could see the black dots within the spots. And here, this is caused by Coleotrichum, that is the name of the pathogen. This particular disease, it could affect leaves, it could affect stem, and it could affect the fruits. If you see bananas and mangoes, they get the black spots. When they ripen, you could see they get black spots, and those black spots will be sunken, or else they are actually depressed in nature. So that is actually called as anthracnose. Then fruit rot and pod rot. In some instances, you would have seen some fungus like this with the black or dark head tips here. Also, this is body, and similarly, you may get the same kind of symptom or fungal growth in case of zucchini, as well as in a lot of cucumber crops, you may get this kind of symptoms. This is known as conifera. And again, this is because of poor maintenance, and also when there is high rainfall during the flowering as well as the pod development, you may get this kind of diseases. Then again, I wanted to inform you that the disease occurrence will always relate to the weather conditions, the environmental conditions. And also the disease occurrence, it requires the inoculum of the pathogen. So if you have the plant and if you have the inoculum, then the environmental conditions like the temperature, rainfall, and humidity, if they are not favoring for the growth of the pathogen, then the disease occurrence will not be there. Because in most of the cases, the pathogens may present there, the plant will be there, but at the same time, the weather conditions or the environment conditions, if they are not suitable, then the disease occurrence will not be there. And similarly, even the weather conditions are favorable and the plant host is there, and still the inoculum is not there, means then there is no disease. So based on these factors also, we have to think, or we have to design our management strategies. That is why the rainfall and soil moisture and humidity, all those factors, they play a major role in occurrence of the plant diseases. Moving to the next slide. This one is collar rot. Sometimes you may get this kind of dark discoloration on the stem. This is in hot pepper, as well as in some of the bushy crops. You may get this kind of dark discoloration on the branches as well as on the stem just above the soil level. And here also you could see this dark discoloration. And because of this, what happens? The water translocation is disturbed. The leaves will get wilting and they will lose of water, and finally it leads to yellowing, then the whole plant will die. But in most of the home gardening conditions, I don't think you will get most of these kind of soil-borne diseases. When I say soil-borne diseases, the microorganisms, they present inside the soil and they will affect the whole plant so that the whole plant will die, like the stem diseases and root diseases, and also the vascular system will be affected because of the soil-borne diseases. These are all some of the major problems under the field and commercial conditions, whereas in case of the home gardening, I don't think you will have much of these problems, but still for your information, I'm presenting this one to you. Also stem blight. This is again another pathogen. And here you could see the mycelium on the stem, like peppers and in tomato as well. And this one is called as sclerotium. If you closely observe, they produce small mustard-like seeds. So those mustard-like seeds are the hard resisting structures of the fungi, and that can present in the soil for so many years. All these soil-borne pathogens, they can present in the soil for so many years. For instance, in case of mushroom, right? Mushroom is a fungi. And when there is high rainfall and when there is a good shadow conditions, and you will see the mushrooms are emerging from the soil. No one go there and put mushroom seeds. Mushroom seeds, the spores, that is how in technically we call them. Spores are conidia, but in common terms is actually, you could say they are the fungal seeds. So those are present in the soil for several years, right? And that's why the soil management and using the disease-free soil is also very much important. Here you could see this kind of mycelial growth on the stem region or the root, and this will again affect the movement of the water and the absorption of the nutrients and minerals, so that you could see here the wilting as well as the whole death of the plants. The next one is the damping off. Then again, this one you may not see in your home gardening conditions, but still, suppose if you are growing your seedlings, if you have intent to grow your own seedlings, then this disease also will happen to occur. And here again, what happens? This is the disease only will occur during the nursery conditions or in the seedling stage. When you grow these seedlings, maybe in a tray or in a pro tray, whatever it is, when you grow them, and sometimes you will see some of these seeds, they did not germinate, right? And that could be because of the seed vigor, but at the same time, that could also be because of the diseases. The seeds, if they have this disease, then the seeds will not germinate. And here the soil, when there is more damp in the sense when there is more wetness, more soil moisture, like what we used to think. When we have sow the seeds, then immediately we think that we have to add more water every day. So the watering is also very important in management of the diseases. If we add more water and all the time the soil is damp, that is actually saturated condition, then that actually attracts this particular fungi, and so that the seeds which are germinating, they will be affected, and the hypocotyledons or the cotyledons and all those young emerging seedlings, they will get rotten and they will die. And so that you will not see any seedlings emerging out of the soil. And also if they emerge out of the soils and at the collar region, just above the soil level, you could also observe the softening and discoloration and the damping up. And here again, damp means more moisture and wetness. So this is important disease in case of nurseries. So these are all some of the fungal diseases. In case of fungal diseases, you could see the leaf spots and you could see the fungal growth in some cases, not in all cases. Also, you will see some dark colored dots inside the holes or inside the spots. So we are moving to the bacterial diseases. In case of bacteria, here you're seeing the picture of the bacteria, and this one, the distinct symptom of the bacterial disease is all the time when you see bacterial disease, and you could see the yellow halo or yellow circular around the leaf spot. That indicates that that is the bacterial disease. Another distinction that you could identify the bacterial disease, always it could occur from the margins. The reason is the leaf margins that will have stomata, like fungi, the fungi, they will be able to cause physical damage to the plant tissue, and they will be able to enter using its mycelia and physical force. But whereas in case of bacteria, they do not have that physical force like fungi to enter into the plants. So what they will do, they will always depend on the natural openings of the plants, as well as the injuries caused during the cultural operations, as well as the injuries caused by the nematodes. using those injuries, using those natural openings only, the bacteria can enter into the plants. And here, if you see, these margins, always the leaf margins, they will have the stomata. So that's why the bacteria, if the inoculum is present in that particular leaf or in that atmosphere, then the bacteria, they could enter into the leaf and they could cause the symptoms, and they could produce the symptoms at the leaf margins. And also the bacteria produces a lot of polysaccharides and toxins. So those toxins are responsible for this yellow halo. And also these mostly will be angular leaf spots, right? And because of this bacterial infection, the bacterial infection mostly restricted within the veins. And here you see there is a vein and there is a vein, and this will be restricted. And later this will be the initial stage. But over the time, what will happen, all these spores, they will, this toxins again, they will kill all these cells, then they will actually grow and they will merge and they will cause defoliation as well as drying of the leaves. So this is what happens with the bacterial diseases. In most of the fungal diseases, you will not see the yellow halo. And also this will be like angular, or this will be in kind of diamond shaped one. Also, as I told you, the bacterial leaf spot will be restricted within the veins. And you could see here, this is again another typical bacterial leaf spot. And also if you closely observe within the veins, you could see some of the net-like structures, or we call it as the vein netting. And here you could see, and this is actually known as the bacterial blight. And you could distinguish clearly between the fungal and bacterial leaf spot. In some instances, on fruits, these bacteria, they could cause some soft rot. As I told you, they do not have a strong physical structure to damage or to enter into the fruits or enter into the plants. But they produce a lot of toxins and they produce a lot of enzymes so that they soften the tissue. And here in hot pepper, sorry, this sweet pepper, here you will be able to see the softening of the tissue. Also, if you smell it, then you could actually have that fishy odor coming from the bacterial diseases. So that is also one of the things that you have to look for the bacterial diseases. Here also, when there is a fruiting and there is a high rainfall, and this could cause this kind of soft rot problems in most of the solanaceous vegetables. This one is another bacterial leaf spot, and here really you could see this is the lettuce, and at the base of the plant, that is the head of the base of the lettuce, you could see the bacterial spot or the bacterial rot. And here you could see the bacteria, it completely damaged the whole head. Here, if you just take a tissue and if you put it in a cup of water, then you can see the slimy bacteria oozing from that infected portions. This clearly indicates that this is because of the bacteria infection. So those are all some of the leaf spot diseases, as well as the diseases affecting the stems as well as the heads of the plant. This is more common problem in again solanaceous vegetables, and this is known as bacterial wilt. And here you could again see the healthy tomato plant, but at the same time you could see the wilted tomato plants. Here this wilted tomato plant, this is because of the bacterial infection. What will happen, the nematodes or some injuries which we make while doing the maintenance operations, those injuries will facilitate the bacteria if it is present inside the soil, and they will actually enter into the root system and they block this vascular system. You know, the vascular system is very much important for translocation of water and nutrients from the root system to the leaves. When this vascular system is damaged here, the water and nutrient movement is restricted. This will lead to the wilting as well as yellowing and the complete death of the plants. This is what I mentioned about, sorry, I think this is what I mentioned about the vascular tissue damage. And here you could see inside there is a damage and discoloration, brown discoloration. This indicates that the bacteria has damaged the whole tissue. If you cut that particular portion and if you put it in a water, and you could see the milky oozes or the substances from the bacteria, they are emerging, and it indicates that this is because of the bacterial wilt. The reason for saying that, there is a wilt which is caused by fungal pathogen called Fusarium. So the Fusarium can also cause a disease similar to that. So to distinguish from the Fusarium as well as the bacteria, if you do this test, then you will be able to confirm this is because of the bacteria. So these are all some of the common diseases of bacteria. Let us move on to the diseases of viruses. In case of viruses, as I told you, most of the virus diseases will be systemic diseases. In the case, when I say systemic, almost the 50% of the plant, or more than 50% of the plant, will express the symptoms. Here, if you see, this is a particular virus called leaf curl virus. And here what happened, the part of the plant, if you see here, this is actually curled, and the leaves are crinkled, or the leaves will become plastic in nature. You can easily break the leaves. But in nature, if you look into the leaves and if you want to break it, then you will not hear any plastic, you will not see any plastic nature. But whereas in virus affected plants, the leaves will become bulge, but the size is reduced and the internode length is reduced, so that it will give the bushy appearance. And here, this one is particularly leaf curl virus caused by the Gemini viruses. Also, you will see the diseases like this, and this one is known as the mosaic. Here you will see yellowing as well as dark green banding patterns. So the alternate pale green and dark green banding patterns, they are known as the mosaic disease. Again, this is caused by the viruses. In case of viruses, they are transmitted by the insects, because the viruses, they cannot live on their own. As I told you, the viruses, they do not have its cell structure for its own survival. It always depends on the other organisms for its survival and multiplication. The same thing happens with the plant viruses. So the plant viruses, they will be transmitted through seeds, or they will be transmitted by the insects. They cannot survive by their own. And here, if you see the mostly the sucking insects, like sucking and piercing insects like aphids, whiteflies, thrips, and leafhoppers, when they go on to the healthy plants, the infected plants, and they will actually suck the juice, and while they are actually sucking the juice, they also acquire the viruses. And when they go to the healthy leaves, and again, they will actually try to insert their mouth part, the piercing thing, it transmits the viruses, so that the virus is transmitted from infected leaves or from infected plant to the healthy plant or to the healthy leaves. So that's how the transmission of plant viruses occur. So if you see insect infestation or insect population in your garden, then you could suspect or you could expect the possibility for occurrence of the plant viruses. So with this, I just complete the disease diagnosis part. I have another presentation which actually deals with the tips for the management of the insect vectors as well as the diseases. So here, the most important thing is solving a problem is impossible without knowing the cause. Hope this is applicable to our life also, because if we do not know where is the root cause or what is the root cause or what is the problem, then we will not be able to solve the particular problem. Similarly, in case of plants also, if we do not know what is the problem, whether it is the nutritional disorder, or it is because of the pest, or it is because of the disease, or it is because of the changes in the weather conditions, we may not be able to solve or the problem. So the knowledge on disease diagnosis is always critical, and that will help you to manage the disease. Also, the diagnosis or else the early diagnosis of the diseases is very, very important, because we all know that prevention is always better than cure, right? For any kind of diseases, prevention is the uh, better solution than cure. So let us move on to the next presentation, which is tips for disease and pest management in your home garden. So before I begin this presentation, just I wanted to ask you, are you all hearing me clearly? And also I wanted to make sure that you all understand and my speed or accent and everything is fine with you.
Yes, we can still see the slide. We can understand. I will wait for some of the participants to respond in the chat as it relates to the accent and the speed. So one participant said it's just fine. It's just fine for me. And all right, so it looks like it's good for now. So thank you. You can continue.
Okay, great. So coming to the tips for pest and disease management in your home garden, then again, you remember that all these problems or all these tips that we are going to discuss, those are applicable only to the home gardening conditions, right? And not for the commercial applications. So you just have to keep that in mind. So based on that only, we will know what are the feasible techniques or practices that we will be able to employ here in the home garden, and which may or may not be applicable in the commercial field cultivations. So the first thing you have to do is, suppose if you're selecting or if you're going to raise your own seedlings, you have to select healthy and disease-free seeds. The selection of healthy and disease-free seeds, I know that some of you may buy seeds from companies, or else some of you may have your own seeds. So if you have planned to have your own seeds, the best thing is you have to select and you have to preserve the seeds from healthy plants. When you grow the plants, and you would have noticed that whether that plant is healthy and whether that plant is produced a healthy fruit or healthy seeds, and only those plants you have to select for seed preservation as well as going for the next crop. So this is very much important. Also, if you buy some seeds from any of the companies or from any suppliers, you make sure that those seeds are healthy and they do not have any discoloration, and they are not shriveled, right? So these are all some of the things you have to look into it to make sure that they are free from any pests and free from any diseases. So this is very important if you intend to raise your own seedlings.
Professor Sarah?
Yeah.
This presentation that you're on, does it have a slide for it?
Yeah. Oh, are you not seeing the slides? So,
We were, but it looks like it was for the previous slide, because the last slide said summary.
oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. Awesome. So now we are on your current presentation.
Okay, great. Because
Yes,
I'm not
thank
seeing
you.
the chat. Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. So this is the first tip about the seedlings or about the nursery. The second step, if you're again raising your own seedlings, you make sure that you use fresh grow mix or soil mix to raise the seedlings in the nursery, because the nursery seedlings, they are the source of infection for many diseases. As I told you, the soil-borne diseases, they spread through the seedlings or from the soil mix. So when you buy the seedlings, and there is a possibility that the diseases or the pathogens they may present inside the seedlings. That's why you have to use fresh and pathogen-free grow mix to raise the seedlings. And here, once you have the pathogens which are present in the soil, and that will not affect the seedlings, but when they grow, the pathogens will affect the plants. Again, you have to remember that the microorganisms, they will not, some microorganisms will affect all stages of the plants. Some microorganisms will affect only particular stage of the plants. For instance, in case of human diseases, if you take the diabetics, and we have, there is a type 1 diabetics and type 2 diabetics, one which can affect the children, the other one can affect the adults. Similarly, in case of the plant diseases as well, some diseases will affect the seedling stage like damping up, and some diseases will affect the vegetative stage or the growing stage, and some diseases will affect only the fruiting stage, right? So that's why I'm saying that we have to be very careful when we grow the seedlings as well as use the grow mix. So this is very important tip. If you plan to raise your own seedlings, you have to use the fresh grow mix, as well as don't use the same grow mix or the same potting media over the time again and again. Suppose if you wanted to use that time and again, what you need to do is you need to solarize those soil mix by keeping them, and you could actually cover it with a clear plastic sheet, allowing the sunlight to go in. And before that, you just water that mix, and then you cover it with the clear plastic sheet, and you leave it for 4 to 6 weeks time, so that whatever pathogens that are present inside the grow mix, they will be killed, so that you can rotate that for the next crop. So by that way, you have to rotate this grow mix, and you should not continuously use this grow mix either for growing the seedlings or for growing the whole plant. If you plan to purchase seedlings, ensure they are healthy, free from all pests and diseases. When you are buying the seedlings, look for uniform growth and vigor of the seedlings like this. So they should be free from any pests and diseases. When you buy the seedlings, you also make sure that you are checking the lower surface of the leaves where some of the pests they may hide. And here you have to check at the collar region. The leaves, they may look healthy, but at the same time, just above the soil level, you may have this kind of dot discoloration. This is again, you have a fungal disease. So based on this, you can examine and you can decide whether to buy or not. Also, you have to look for some insects which are responsible for transmitting viruses, like if it's whiteflies and thrips. Here you could see these are, you could see some of the aphids as well as the other flies as well. This is very important when you buy the seedlings. Once you have the pest population, then it would be difficult to manage them using natural conditions. And then you have to apply the natural solutions all the time, from time to time, to manage these pests. So it is always better to prevent, and sanitation is very much important. Also, in case of diseases, if you see, you could see some small spots as well as yellowing of the leaves, and these plants are not healthy. So in such instances, you could make a decision not to buy these seedlings. Then this is very important. Monitor regularly for early identification of pests and diseases. Here, since you have all these plants in your garden, at least I would say every day you could just go and you have a look at the plants, whether it shows any signs of symptoms, because you will not see, sorry, this whole thing all of a sudden. You will not see this whole thing all of a sudden, right? And this would have happened for at least 3 or 4 days time, right? And after that only all this leaf drying and everything would occur. Here, if you closely just see here in this region, you could see this is the point of infection this is the bacterial rot, right? And if you just go into that plant and you can smell the fishy odor, and here what happens, because of the high soil moisture, they irrigate a lot and water is damp. Because of this, the bacteria has taken upper hand and it causes the disease. Also, the grow mix, this also has the bacterial infection, right? So that's why I'm saying that you have to be vigilant for root rot, collar rot, wilt, leaf spot, stem blight, fruit rots, and insects such as whiteflies, scale insects, thrips, leaf miner, aphids, mealybugs, leaf feeder at early stages to prevent the spread and control. Here you could see the mildew in okra, and you could see mealybug. This is in okra. You could see this kind of caterpillar. This is in cabbage, and you could see the bacterial wilt in tomato. So the reason for saying to monitor these plants regularly to prevent the spread of the diseases, right? That is one thing. Suppose if you have 10 plants and if you're seeing that one plant in the bed, if it is affected, then you have to take management practices to prevent the spread of the disease to another plants. Otherwise, all 10 plants will die. And for in this case, especially in case of wilt diseases, the whole plant will die. And similarly, in case of the leaf spots, suppose if you have 1 or 2 leaves, then it would be better to tip off or else remove those leaves, and so that you will reduce the source of inoculum, right? So that's why you have to monitor the crops or plants regularly. Then you could grow some insect repellent crops bordering your beds. Suppose if you have the bed like this, then you could grow these high-scented crops like mint, thyme, and tulsi and marigold bordering the grow beds, as well as you could grow this chive in between tomato and other crops as well, and this will reduce some of the soil diseases. And marigold, growing of this marigold in between the rows of the garden crops, this will reduce the nematode population so that the bacterial disease incidence, then these other soil-borne disease incidences, it may be reduced. Also, these kind of crops, they will emit some scent and they will act as the repellents for the insects that are transmitting the viruses. Since you will have the sizable number of plants in your garden, it is feasible in this case, you have to remove all visible pests and diseases and avoid any injury or damage to the plants. Here you see in this system, this is again a community garden in Malabar area in Trinidad. Here you could see all leaves are healthy, but only you are seeing one leaf is showing the symptom, and here you could see the another leaf, right? So when you are regularly going to watch the plants, and when you are seeing this kind of small or fresh symptoms, it would be better to remove that particular leaf, and so that you are avoiding the spread of the disease. That is at the early stage. Suppose if you have all these 10 leaves and 20 leaves, if they have this infection and if you haven't noticed, then that stage removal, I won't advise you have to remove all leaves. So in such instances, you have to take up the spray of some natural means, or in some conditions, some extreme conditions, then if there is no other go, then you have to go for some chemicals as well. Also, when you're removing those leaves, you have to destroy them or else put it in the garbage bag and you safely dispose it. Suppose if you just tip it off and if you just put it there, and again, those spores, they can actually present in the air, and then again that can come and fall on the leaves, and that could cause the disease. Place yellow sticky trap for insect monitoring and control. And here I know Kenya would be talking more about the solutions to control the insects, but still having the insects which transmit some of the viruses, I have included all this in my presentation. Here, if you see, you could use Bristol board or steady plastic to prepare yellow sticky trap. And again, the size you can determine, but just for your convenience, I have given it as the 6" by 6". You could spread the vegetable oil and then make sure that the vegetable oil, it is more sticky and viscous, because the insects, the purpose of this one, yellow sticky trap, yellow color is always attracting the insects. And also the aggressiveness or the stickiness will make the insects to come and stick to it. And this will be very good method for most of these sucking pests like whiteflies and aphids and thrips and even leaf miners. Or you could use petroleum jelly and you can just smear it and then you can hang it inside the bed as shown in this picture. You could use some of the plastic buckets like this and you could paint it, and then you can smear with some vegetable oils, and it could work very well in the home gardens to reduce the population as well as to monitor the population of insects. Here you have to change once in a week or once in 2 weeks based on the population of the insects. This is another method to control whiteflies, aphids, and thrips as well, which is known to transmit the viral diseases. The forcibly spraying some water that will actually wash off whiteflies, aphids, and thrips. At the same time, I don't recommend the spraying of the water in the evening time. That will attract more diseases. What happens when you spray in the evening time? There will be more leaf wetness and more moisture and low temperature. So these are all the very much favorable conditions for disease occurrence, especially the foliar diseases. That's why you have to do it in the early morning or morning hours. You don't spray water in the evening hours. If you spray water in the evening hours, then you are inviting some of the diseases. Also, you could use soap solution, as stated here, 1 tablespoon per liter of water to control insects. Then again, when you're spraying the soap water, you have to add the adhesive or stickers, and here vegetable oil that can give that sticking agent role. This one more exclusively for disease control, because this garlic extract you could prepare and you can keep it home and you can use it for pest and disease control. But however, in case of most of the foliar diseases, as well as the powdery mildew, and for the Cercospora, and a lot of diseases could be controlled using this garlic, because garlic, it has the compound called allicin, which is the sulfur based compound which has antifungal activity. Here just I have given the process how to prepare this garlic extract. If you see, I have to take 100 grams, approximately 2 bulbs of peeled garlic. You have to blend it with 200 ml of water to 3 to 5 minutes. Then add 700 ml of hot water. I'm not saying boiled water or boiling water. You have to add the moderate or warm water, right? Lukewarm water, probably around 45 to 50 degrees Celsius, and keep it overnight for 12 hours, so that all extracts which are present within the garlic compounds will come into the solution. Then you can strain it to obtain the spray solution. You could mix it with few drops of liquid soap or with the vegetable oils, and you mix it well, spray. This will work very well against most of the foliar diseases. So what I will advise, irrespective of seeing the diseases, right, this will work very well as the preventive measure. Before seeing the diseases, or if you are seeing the diseases at the early stage, I recommend this to apply in the plants to prevent as well as to control some of the foliar diseases. Also, this can have some impact on the pest population, since you are going to add some liquid soap as well as the vegetable oil as well in this solution. Of course, neem, the next tip, neem leaves or seeds, and this could also have some insecticidal property and repellent property. Also some neem leaf or neem oil, it has some fungicidal activity. Here also you could get the neem oil commercially from some shops, or else you could prepare by yourself. You could take 100 gram of leaves or 100 gram of, this is just for the purpose of presentation, and you could take more, maybe 1 kg or how much you want based on the need. You could actually mix it with 100 ml of water and blend it at high speed. Add 200 ml of hot water. Then again, I'm not saying the boiling water. This hot water, it should be between 45 to 50 degrees Celsius, and strain it and make sure that you dilute 10 times. Similarly, in case of here, the solution itself is diluted, right? Because you are here adding 700 ml of water, so that will actually dilute. And here in case of garlic, 10% of garlic extract solution would be effective in reducing foliar diseases. Here in case of neem, 2% to 5% of neem leaf extract or neem oil percentage, that will be very effective in controlling the insects as well as some of the diseases. This herbal extract, this could also affect very well against the pest and disease control. And here, take handful of Spanish thyme and handful of Sharon benny and 1 or 2 hot pepper, and you grind it. After you grind it, you strain it and dilute 10 times with water and spray on plants. And again, you could add few drops of vegetable oil to make it as the sticking agent. So this will prevent the diseases as well as the pests like whiteflies, aphids, and thrips. Again, I'm saying that don't spray acid, because when you're spraying acid, what will happen? The high concentrated one will cause toxicity to the plants. But that's why I'm saying that you have to dilute 10 times before you spray. There are some biopesticides which are commercially available. This neem oil, you could get it from agro shops or else some of the pharmaceuticals, and you could add 5 ml in 1 liter of water and you could spray. And also there are some horticultural oil and sprays are available. Also there are some microbial based bioformulations like trichoderma and bacillus based bioformulations and streptomyces based bioformulations are available. These bioformulations, you can get it from the agro shops and you could apply. This is what actually we are also doing in our faculty. In my research, we have identified some of the microorganisms which can promote plant growth as well as reduce the diseases. So those formulations we are in the process of preparing, and almost we have developed the formulation and it should be available for use. So here, also, I have to cover some aspects of the pesticide labeling. Reading of the pesticide labels. And now, just for your information, I'm saying CURRICUM, that is a cross-Q standards. Cross-Q standards has developed the labeling standards for the pesticides, right? So those labeling standards for the pesticides is available in the cross-Q website for all your public comments, right? So if you are all interested, I will share it with Dr. Isaac so that she could share that information with you. You could see what is happening with respect to the labeling of the pesticides. The most important thing is with respect to pesticides, a lot of pesticides, they will come with the trade name or commercial name. Each company will have different names, but you have to look for the active ingredients. Active ingredients are the one which are responsible for insecticidal or fungicidal or bactericidal activity. Here, if you see this trichoderma, this is actually the trichoderma viridi, that is the biofungicide. The reason for saying that, a lot of agro shops and a lot of suppliers, they are putting some chemicals and still they are saying it as the biofungicide, right? So you should have a knowledge whether it is really biofungicide or it is some other compound. That's why you have to read the active ingredient. And here, if you see this Streptomyces lidicus, this Streptomyces lidicus is the microorganism. Similarly, if you see here in this compound, this is the Bacillus subtilis. This is another microorganism. Trichoderma is another microorganism. You have to make sure that they are truly biological based formulations, right? So when we have knowledge and no one would cheat us, that is the reason. Also, you read the instructions carefully and you follow the instructions and you spray it on the plants. So with this, I hope I have given some information about the disease diagnosis as well as some of the tips for the pest and disease management at home gardening circumstances. So with this, I once again thanks Dr. Wendy and Isaac, as well as I thank everyone for your patient hearing. Hope you understood whatever I have presented, and I'm ready to take some questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Professor Sarah. I'm going to do the questions and answer section a bit different this morning. I would allow the individuals to speak to you directly. So first up, we have Madeline. Madeline, I'm going to unmute your mic so you could ask your question. All right, go ahead. Madeline, are you present?
Yes, hi, morning.
Awesome.
Right, it's Madeline. So the question is, I saw when you had the picture of the, I think it was a fungus on the roots of a pepper. I have a concrete-like enclosure, and I noticed one time when I was digging up the soil, I saw some white bits in the soil. What I wanted to know is, if you see those things in the soil, and sometimes I would see mushrooms growing out of the soil, do I totally discard that soil, or is there a way of saving it?
Okay, in this case, right, you would have used some partially decomposed. Have you used the decomposed there? I mean, compost material?
No, because I'm renting there and I saw the area with soil in it. So I saw an area with.
So are you seeing any insects in the soil?
No.
Okay. What happens, right? When you use some soils or else the compost in it, right? If they are not fully composed, then you will see some fungi like that, right? And mushrooms emerging from that, right? So in that case, that will pose some of the possibilities for the root rot diseases. So in such cases, I would advise not to use that soil. And if you wanted to use the same soil, I will advise to go for the solarization. Soil solarization, I just told you that you can heap it up and you can just cover it with the clear plastic sheet. And before covering it with the clear plastic sheet, you saturate with the water, and so that you are making all those fungi and young germinating microbes to grow, and then you are covering it with the clear sheet and allowing the sunlight to come in. You have to leave it for 4 to 6 weeks so that whatever present inside, it would be killed, and then you could use that soil.
Okay, thank you. If the other thing is, this enclosure, it was like a little concrete bin. It's in a shady sort of area. So maybe if I were to put plants that are okay with shade,
yeah,
I remove the soil from the pot. Do I treat the concrete, the blocks?
No, you could actually move the soil alone, and you have to put it outside, and you could do this process. Then again, you can fill it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I will need to treat the actual pot, right?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Madeline. We're now moving to Sintra. All right, Sintra, you may go ahead.
The wilted tomato.
Yeah. Sorry, Sintra, could you start again, please?
How do I treat the wilted tomato?
wilted tomato?
Yes.
Okay, so you make sure that the wilt is because of the disease, right? Because sometimes if you are not watering the plant, tomato plants mostly during the daytime when there is a hot sunlight, right? You will see some of the leaves showing some wilted. Then again, evening or the next day when you water, that will pick up, right? So you make sure that that is because of the bacterial wilt, right? In that case, you can actually intercrop with some chive, because chive, that is actually the similar plant which is close to garlic or onion types, right? And when they grow, the roots, they also produce some sulfur based compounds or allicin based compounds that can keep away the bacterial population, right? That is one thing. Then the second thing is you could also grow marigold in the borders, or one or two plants in that particular bed. And if you're growing it in the pots, the individual pots, you could grow chive, because that is just going to be like very short-term crop, so that the soil, if it has any bacterial population, then that will be killed or that will be removed. These two things, the cultural practices you could do, and also make sure that you are not damaging the roots of the tomato plant. Then the fourth one, you could use hydrogen peroxide as well, right? I'm saying mostly the natural methods are to avoid the use of chemicals, right? That's what I'm keeping in my mind. I'm giving my response. You could use hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is available in shops as well, in groceries as well. You could get those. You'll see that mostly they will be available either at 3% or they will be available at 30%, right? In such instances, use 0.5%, right? 0.5%. You have to dilute so much and you have to apply in the soil, but at the same time, make sure that you are not applying it on the leaves or you are not applying it on the stem, because that may have some phytotoxicity effect, right? This is one thing. Also, in the soil, you could use bleach solution. Then again, you dilute that bleach solution and you apply in the soil. Not high concentrated bleach. You could apply 1%. Then again, I'm saying, make sure that you're not spraying it on the plants, because the phytotoxicity will be there. Just only in the soil if the particular problem is serious, so that you are actually reducing the bacterial population. So you could try one or combination of all these things to reduce the bacterial wilt problem. But at the same time, you make sure that you have the soil which is free from pathogen. The reason I'm saying is you should not use the same soil time and again to grow the same solanaceous vegetables like tomato, hot pepper, and melange, right? They're all the crops affected by this bacterial wilt pathogen. That's why I'm saying that you use some soil solarization technique to reduce the bacterial and fungal population, and you could rotate that for the next season of crops.
Okay, thank you. My second question is,
Yeah.
I've planted zucchini three different times, three different places, and I got the same result from them. The tree, beautiful, green, broad, nice leaves. It flowers a lot, but when the fruit come out, it reach like say about 2 inches, 3 inches. It yellow, and I didn't get any food from them. What could be the problem?
So you are not getting any fruit from the flowers, right?
No, the fruit comes out. It bears the fruit. It reaches like 3 inches, and it turns yellow and rot.
Okay. Is it turning yellow from the tip?
Yes.
Okay. What you need to do, right? You kindly check for any small insects in the flowers, right? So have you checked for any insects? Because sometimes the insects which are causing this kind of fruit ripening and yellowing as well. Have you checked those?
I did, and I saw a white bug. I don't know if that is what is called a white fly. I don't know. And I didn't follow the way that you said to do the neem. What I did, I blend it with some garlic, and I did apply it raw because I didn't know how to do it the way you said it. So, but that didn't work. The fruit just got a little bigger, but it's still rot.
Okay.
And then I didn't see any bug again after that.
Okay, so here usually when you have these kind of problems like the fruit getting yellowing from the tip, have you seen any fungus or any discoloration after that yellowing?
I saw it on the leaves. The leaves turn like yellow and then it turned brown, but not from in the root or in the body of the tree, just like the leaves.
Okay, so insect, that could be one of the problems, right? And as well as some nutritional imbalance that could also this particular problem, because it seems more like the physiological disorder rather than the pathological disease, right? When you see pathological disease, you will see the symptoms of the fungi or bacteria, and I'm not sure how balance the nutrients were applied. Have you applied any? Sometimes, you know, these kind of things when you grow in the soil, and they may require some micronutrients as well. So I will recommend some of these practices if you are seeing the insects, as well as the micronutrient solution, and also make sure that the particular variety which you are using, right, and it doesn't have that problem. Have you used the same seed or same variety?
No, the same seed.
From suppliers?
From a package. No, I got it from a package in the store. I bought the seed from the store.
Okay, so sometimes, you know, the seeds, they also have some genetic characters in that. So in that case, it's better to change the variety, and you have to do that.
Okay,
because
so if
based on this, sorry, go ahead.
If I have to add nutrient to it, as you were suggesting, possibly it could be lack of some type. What type of nutrient should I use?
Okay, there is a micronutrient solutions are available, right? That you could spray before the flowering. Also, you could use potassium and calcium, right? So the potassium and calcium application during this particular stages will enhance disease resistance as well as enhance the fruit development, because potassium is always related to the reproduction of the plants and reproduction of the grains. So use potassium, calcium, and the micronutrient solution. Micronutrient solutions are available from the shops, and you could try that.
You said potassium and what? What's the other word?
Calcium.
Oh, calcium. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
No problem. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Ms. Sintra. I'm going to go to the next person. And as best as possible, let's try to limit our questions to the one that was asked in the chat so other persons could have an opportunity. I'm now going to unmute the mic of Mel B. All right, Mel B, are you there?
Yes, morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Doc, I have, based on your presentation, I would have noticed now that, because I'm seeing some things in the garden, and I realized that I have bacterial and viral infections because the zucchini and the pumpkin are drying up with the same powdery mildew, and I'm seeing the spots on the celery, the soft rot on the sweet peppers and stuff. I went to the plant shop and they told me to use polyram, but I only got that Friday. So should I use the polyram, or what can be done to stop it? Because I'm also seeing the rust coming on the okra leaves as well as the bodi leaves. So what can I do?
Okay, so polyrum is actually the fungicide, right? It's a chemical, but it's a home garden, right?
Yeah.
So I don't recommend the use of chemicals in the home circumstances, right?
Okay.
Because you may have children and you may have some older population. So that may affect them because they are highly susceptible to those kind of chemicals, right? So that's why it's always better to keep them away from those chemicals. So it's better not to use chemicals, right? But you said you purchased it, right? And those would work against those diseases, whatever you mentioned, right? But if it is very serious and all plants with high incidence, you go for chemicals. Otherwise, I will advise the garlic spray that can very well work against this powdery mildew as well as some of the foliar diseases.
Okay, thanks. But in addition to the garlic, you said I can use the garlic, but to the extent that I'm seeing it, because all the plants are in containers and they're close by, and I'm noticing everybody is catching something, and it all started when it started to rain.
Okay, so what you could do, you could just spray one time with the chemical, right? And the next time you can go ahead with the botanicals.
Okay, thank you. But the polyram, if I use that once, it would take care of all the issues in terms of bacterial and fungal?
In case of bacteria, right, the polyram, it may not work. But if you have some copper fungicides, and copper fungicides can have some effect on the bacterial wilt.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Melby. We are now going over to Joy. All right, Joy, can you hear me? Joy, are you there? Calling all Joys. All right, so it looks like Joy
Oh,
may...
yes, yeah. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. So my question, I can't remember what my question was. I had two questions. My question was, there is a little bug, it's looking like a bug on the melon tree. And even though I spray it, it comes back. I don't know if it's the thing you were talking about, the plant hoppers. It's a little small bug, but it takes over the melon tree, and I can't seem to get rid of it.
Okay, thanks for this question. And I'm seeing a response from Dr. Isaac that Kenya could also respond to this question because he's more on entomology side. Kenya?
Yes, that's true. So we'll leave that for Kenya's part. So my apologies, Joy.
Well, then one other thing, I have an avocado tree, and the leaves of the avocado tree has a brownish spot in the middle of it that it grows like that. I don't know, it starts off green, and then you see this brownish thing in the middle of the avocado leaf.
Okay, that's actually red algae. You could see some red color incrustations over the leaf, right?
Yes.
That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, what happens when you do not have direct sunlight and the branches are more heavy, right? And
yes,
there is a possibility to have the algae, red algae on leaves. So what I will suggest, you could prune some of the branches so that the tree will get the sunlight, which will take care of that particular thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thank you, Joy. We're now moving over to Kendra. Kendra,
Hello.
are you there?
Yes.
Hi.
Yes, I'm here. Hello. Good morning.
Oh, morning.
Was it Kendra or Kenya?
Kendra.
Hi, that's me. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I had a question. I had also placed it in the Google Classroom, I'm sorry. And Dr. Isaac had responded somewhat. So I have a question concerning zucchini. I uploaded a picture in the chat. I have a zucchini plant that finally started producing blossoms and some fruit, except now I'm seeing that the fruit is starting to turn yellow while still on the plant, so yellow and green, and getting a bit mushy. And I really don't know what is causing it. It's something that started happening over the past week and a half to 2, and I'm wondering what it is that could be causing this problem.
Okay, I'm just checking the picture that you sent it to me in chat box, right? Okay, so this one is actually conifera, right? This is a weak pathogen, right? Later you could see some of the fungi. And here what happens when this fruiting or fruits, right? When they directly touch the soil and soil has some of those pathogens, then they will actually pick it up. Also, when you have these leaves, it's better to remove those leaves from the soil, because those leaves, when they have some small leaf spot diseases, right, infections, and they will serve as the source of inoculum to these fruits, so that the fruits, they also pick it up. This is a pathological problem. I'm seeing a lot of leaves here fallen to it. I see that you cut some of the plants, and here those leaves,
right.
Once you have all those leaves, then it is better to remove, so that it would be clean and it will not pose threat as the source of inoculum to the fruits. Also, these fruits, when they are having the source of inoculum, naturally it pick it up the disease.
Okay, so how would I avoid the fruit from touching the soil? Is there something?
Okay, so here what you could do, right, is better to remove these leaves. That is the first thing I would say, right? In future, don't allow any leaves on the soil, right? That is the first thing. Then the second thing, suppose if you're having this kind of fruits, you could also spray the same garlic extract or the herbal extract solutions when the fruits are developing, and that will actually reduce any further infection on the fruits.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Kendra. So let me just reiterate. The persons who I am allowing to speak, it's based on the order of the questions in which they came in the Zoom chat. And I'm kindly asking as best as possible to allow your questions to be limited to what was asked in the chat so that everybody could get a chance. We're now moving over to Joanne. Her question had to do with Vedic. So Joanne, just hold on a bit, please. Let me unmute your mic. All right, Joanne, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Go ahead, please.
Everyone. Okay, my question is, I purchased 3 lemon plants from a seedling place last week, a week ago. But what I'm noticing now is that some of the leaves are actually curling up. So I was just wanting to know, should I go ahead and transplant those plants or discard of them if it will bring healthy fruits? I can put on the video to show you exactly what's happening with the seedling, the plant.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, this is the plant here.
Okay.
Okay, let me show you. You notice the leaves there? It looks like as if it's burnt. It's curled up. Okay, let me.
Okay, here.
Notice that leaf?
Yeah. Is it dry?
Pardon me?
Is it dried?
The leaves, no. It has some brown spots,
Okay.
but the leaves are looking as if it's burnt.
Okay, so here at the bottom of, are you seeing any insects at the bottom of the leaves? Lower side of the leaves, I'm asking.
No, I'm not seeing any.
Okay, just come to this, the same plant, you know, at the bottom I'm seeing something, I don't know whether it is insect. Yeah.
Okay, let me see. You see,
Okay, it's just a reflection, it says, okay. No, it's light reflection. I thought, you know, it's white, so I thought it could be some insect.
No.
No, okay.
but the leaves are, it's going up. It started with this leaf, and now this one is wilting, and now that one is wilting. So it's going up to the top.
Okay, what you could do, you could just remove that particular 2 or 3 leaves, right? And you just wait for a week or 2, then just post the pictures, right? And then we will let you know, because I don't know whether it has any psyllid or any insect problem. Because I suspect it could be because of psyllids, some insects, which actually causes some spots like white spots. Are you seeing any white spots or anything like that?
No.
No?
Okay, under the leaf is looking shiny. Look.
Yeah, that's actually psyllids. That's an insect.
See? But I'm not seeing the insect there. Oh, no.
No, you will not see the insects now, right? And so that's the psyllids, right? And so spraying of some neem oil solutions, right?
Okay.
And that could actually keep those insects away from that. That's a psyllid. That's an insect, right?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.
Okay.
Is this Joanne from Dominica?
Yes, my dear Sister Green.
Pleasure to see you.
Yes.
Did you also ask your question as it relates to the 3 lemon plants? Is that what you were showing?
Yes, that's it. That's it. Okay.
And you had another question as it relates to Vedic. Did you also ask that as well?
No, I did not have another question.
No? Okay, well, I have one here from you. Can I go to Vedic to show the plant problem?
Oh, there's the same plant.
Oh, awesome. All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're now moving over to Gladys. Let me unmute your mic so that you can ask your question as it relates to the white flies. 1 minute, Gladys. All right, Gladys, go ahead. Gladys, are you there? Gladys?
Yes. My mic was always on muted. Yes. Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am calling in connection with a situation in my garden. Well, I'm doing container because we don't really live here, but I'm doing container planting. And I noted that on Friday afternoon, that there were a lot of white flies on one part of the tomato plant. And I spoke with my husband. I said, this is going to attack the whole plant. He said, no, they seem to be concentrated on this side. Now, I would like after this lecture to go down in the garden with him, and I want to know if I have to treat the soil as well as the leaves or just the leaves.
Okay, here for these white flies, right, and if you are not taking management measures now, and definitely it will spread to other plants, and that will occupy and that will spread all over, right? So it is better to treat the leaves, and it is not necessary to treat the soils, right? The leaves, and that will actually take care of, because the white flies, once they fall down, or else if they are not able to feed on the leaves, and they will be killed and they will be reduced, because neem, it has the insecticidal as well as the repellent activity. And if you wanted to use some safe pesticides like cypermethrin, right? Alpha cypermethrin, and those also you could use if the incidence is high.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thank you all for your participation. Professor, this looks like the last question from what persons were asking. There were 2 pictures that were sent in the chat. However, Ms. Kenya will respond to it during her presentation.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so I just saw a question. Julian is asking, how safe is it to use Sevin on plants and in the soil?
Okay, that's the insecticide, right? Yeah. So You could use that. That's also kind of moderately safe, I would say. Insecticide is not extremely hazardous, because in some instances we have to use the insecticides or the fungicides to reduce the populations, right? But at the same time, when you're using all those insecticides or fungicides, make sure that you are adhering to the manufacturer instructions. Like if they say that 2 ml per liter, then you use 2 ml per liter. And if they say 3 ml per liter, then use 3 ml per liter. Don't use 5 ml per liter or 10 ml per liter, because that will toxicate the soil as well as the plant. Also, when they have the instructions to use like 10 days interval and 15 days interval, you kindly follow those instructions, right? But 7, it could be used, but I would say again, it is better not to repeat again and again. So you rotate with other cultural practices and other biological insecticides, so that you will reduce the population and you can keep growing the plants in a safer way, because all those food we only going to eat, and so we wanted to eat the healthy food. Because if you see nowadays, healthy soil, healthy plant, healthy food, healthy environment, and healthy human being. So it's all about health. Even for any of the human problems or diseases, finally the conclusion is we have to be healthy. So it is, everything is connected, right? So in such circumstances, I recommend that we have to judiciously and responsibly use the insecticides and pesticides. We should not abuse that, but at the same time, when we are having it in the home gardening conditions, still we have to be very stringent in use of those chemicals and pesticides.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Sarah. Your presentation was informative. We thank you very much for also being able to respond to all the questions. And I will hand over to Dr. George at this moment.
Yeah, thanks very much for facilitating and moderating this session. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, so let me join with Ms. Green in thanking you very much, Professor Sarah, for a very informative session. As most of the participants have already identified in the WhatsApp chat and also on the Zoom chat. All right, so I want to thank you again very much for sharing your expertise with us this morning and teaching us and giving us some hints as to how we could care for our environment much better. All right, so thank you again. And I want to ask you if you could also kindly during the week, I'm seeing some more pictures coming up on WhatsApp. So I will send it to you privately, and if you could help us with those as well in answering those. But you're also on the Google chat room. So if you could, at some point in time, just let's have a look at the pictures that is shared in the stream, right? And offer some advice to some of the participants. Quite a few of them are not here with us this morning because they're probably trying to navigate between this course and another course that they're offering, a commercial course at the same time on Sunday mornings. So some of them are probably at that one this morning. All right, so again, thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you this week again. All right, so.
Yeah, so just before I go, thank you, Dr. Isaac. It's really a wonderful opportunity, and I really appreciate the interest of all participants, and I love it. Once again, my sincere thanks to all of you. So take care, keep safe, as well as grow healthy food, and thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So at this time, we want to turn over to Ms. Kenia Campo. Ms. Kenia Campo is she's a research assistant at the University of the West Indies, and her expertise is in entomology, which is looking at insects, identification of insects, and looking at how we could take care of our insects in a safe way. Most of you already started to ask some questions in the chat room on it, and you also asked some questions to Professor Sarah, which he answered, because he dealt with some of the things that you could also do in some of those concoctions he mentioned for the control of insect pests, all right? Well, Ms. Campo, she will continue doing some of that, giving us some of that advice, and I want to turn over to her at this point in time. So Ms. Kenia, she started to share her slides. All right, so I turn over to Ms. Kenia Campo.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Could you just hold on for 2 minutes? I just need to take care of something with my son.
No problem. Well, I guess in this break, we can all stand from our chairs or sofas and just take a stretch of the upper limbs, the arms and the legs, and your waist before we sit again for round 2 of another presentation. Melby, I'm now seeing your hand. Was that for Professor Sarah or is this for Kenya?
Hi, it was just a quick question for actually Dr. Isaac as we're waiting on Kenya.
Sure.
Based on what Professor Sarah would have said, just wanted to ask Dr. Isaac, when is the best time to spray again? Should it be early morning or late in the afternoon to spray the plants?
Oh, sorry, Dr. George, hold on. I think I'm supposed to.
Hi, can I answer for the question? Yeah.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So spraying is always recommended either in the morning time or in the evening time, right? Spraying
Okay.
of chemicals or botanicals or whatever it is, right? Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Miss Kenya, all to you. If you're ready, that is.
Yes, yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. Are you all hearing me clearly?
Yes, could you speak up a bit louder, please?
Sure. Are you hearing me better now?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. I'll try and talk to the little mic right there. Right, cool. Okay.
No, you could let go of the cord. Just speak a bit louder. Let go of the cord. We want you to be as comfortable as possible as you present.
I don't want to speak too loudly. My son might think I'm speaking to him.
Understood. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you once again, everyone, for having me this morning. It is truly an honor. I always like to take the opportunity to impart any little knowledge that I have. And just to see the activity in this group, it's really overwhelming. And I commend you all for taking your time to come up on a Sunday morning to be here. Okay. So I'm just going to discuss with you a little bit about pest identification and management. I have 2 screens, so if I'm not looking at you directly, it's because my screen is on the side. So you might probably just see the side of my head, right?
No problem.
Right. Okay. Okay, so at the end of this presentation, I would love for you guys to learn how to identify some common insect problems, understand the basic biology, anatomy, and the life cycles of these insects, identify the differences between insects and insect arthropods. You're going to learn some simple insect management solutions, and you're going to understand how to read and interpret a pesticide label. And of course, how to safely mix, apply, handle, and dispose of these pesticides. The only difference with my sort of presenting style is that I know you all like to have the questions to the end, but how I structured my presentation, I will also be asking you all questions, so you'll need to pay attention. Yes.
All right.
So now, what is an insect pest? Insect pests cause significant damage to agricultural products that are intended for human and for animals, right? Now, this type of loss can either be a direct loss And there can also be indirect loss because they would leave like important contaminants that will cause, such as their body parts, their exoskeletons, and even some little off odors on produce. Now, there are more than 6 million species of insects. However, we only look at 20 to 30 of these, which are important pests to major crops, right? So there are two types of insect pests. I like to break them up into what we call surface feeders and subsurface feeders. The surface ones, they're the ones that damage your foliage. And then we have the subsurface ones. Those are the ones that will go like damage underground. So they'll attack like your roots, like your sweet potato and your cassava, right? So as we know, the key to proper insect pest management, just as disease management, as Professor Sarah pointed out, is to understand their biology and their behavior. And of course, the kinds of damage that they produce and the application of proper integrated pest management. Now, in order to achieve a crop production system that optimizes the use of natural resources, protects the environment, and maximizes output in a sustainable way, we really need to understand what pests we're dealing with. So let's first start off with, I'm sure we all know what an insect looks like, but we're going to look at the basic biology and the anatomy of the insect. I'm seeing stuff in the chat. What's in the chat? Sorry, just trying to read the chat. Yeah. Right. Now, insects have three major body regions: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The head comprises of the eyes and the antennae and its mouth parts, which are very important. We're going to discuss a little bit more about mouth parts. And of course, the thorax consists of three segments: the pro, the meso, and the metathorax. All the appendages that are used for movement are attached to the thorax. Now, it is believed that the evolution of the wings is what allows the flight that is the primary reason for the amazing success of this species on land. Okay. So we're going to look at the insect life cycles. I just decided to pull out the three basic general ones. So we're going to look at the one that we're accustomed to, the egg, larva, pupa, those stages. And then we're going to look at what we call the instar life cycle as well, right? And once you understand the life cycles, then you will understand exactly how to treat the insects. Okay, so let's look at the egg, larva, and the pupa stage. Now, this is just the basic life cycle of what we call the fall armyworm, or what you would call caterpillars that are eating, let's say, your tomato plants or your cabbage or your pak choy. Yes. So now the fall armyworm belongs to the Spodoptera species, and it is a major invasive pest. As many of you all would know, I'm sure a lot of you have a problem with this particular pest. Now, what makes this pest so successful is its ability to spread and reproduce quite quickly, right? Now, its life cycle comprises of the eggs, which you will find on the underside of the leaves. And this growth stage, usually they will produce about 100 to 300 eggs, right? It's typically near the base of the plant or close to the junction of the leaf and the stem. Now, these are covered in protective scales, which are rubbed off from the moth's abdomen after they are laid, right? So when populations are high, the eggs may be either laid higher up on the plants, near vegetation. Not always, you might see it in the underside at the base of the leaf, but you might just see it a little higher up where there's more vegetation, right? Now, this stage lasts about 3 days, typically. So after the eggs hatch, the young caterpillars feed on the underside of the leaves. So you see how many of them? This is the second picture here with the little light green caterpillars you are seeing here. Right. Now this results in a semi-transparent patch, as you can see at the bottom here, what we also call windows. Now they spin these silken threads, which eventually catch wind and take them from other plants. And you'll see why this needs to happen. This takes about 6 days for this stage, right? Now at this stage, the worm does its most damage. Now you see this nice big chubby worm here, this brown worm. Right. And it creates these little rugged holes when it feeds, right, on the young plants. And this also, it kills the growing point of plants, which results in no new growth. Now, you're probably wondering if they had so many before, because you see how many, we have started with 100 to 300 eggs. You're going to see about hundreds of these little caterpillars at the bottom. Not all of them are going to, the web are going to catch wind and they're going to migrate. So how is it that you don't see 100 to 300 of these little chubby guys, brown ones, on your plants, right? Anybody's wondering why?
Let me see the responses in the chat. Somebody said yes, they're wondering why.
Right. So, well, there's an interesting fact that you all want to know. They become.
Hold on, Miss Kenia.
Yes.
Somebody said, Kendra said predators. Barbara said they eat each other.
They do eat each other. We do get some predators, but more importantly, they eat each other. So when they're larger, they eat each other so they could reduce that competition, right? And for food. So you would see large quantities of what we call caterpillar poop, or what we call it like frass. And this is about 14-day period. So you'll notice I'm telling you the day periods. You need to make note of these day periods, right? So after about 14 days, they'll develop, they will drop on the ground and they will burrow into the ground about 8 centimeters into soil before they pupate. And this will take about 9 days later, and then you see the adult emerge, right? So this is the adult moth, right? Just let me know if I'm moving too quickly. Yeah, I think we're good, right? So insect pest life cycles, let's look at what we call now instars. Now these are what we call the West Indian flower thrips, and these are their life stages. So they're very different to what you will see the egg, larva, pupa stage. These are another ways that insects go through a life cycle. This is called instars, where they molt and they just get bigger and bigger in size, right? So thrips are very tiny, slender insects, as you can see. You would not really be able to see them that well with your naked eye. And they have these fringed wings, right? So they feed by puncturing the epidermal outer layer of the plant, and it sucks out all the cell contents, resulting in a discolored leaf surface, right? Their feeding results in scar formation and, of course, discontinued growth. So you see when the leaves are starting to kind of curl and twist up and all these things. The eggs usually hatch and develop through 2 actually feeding stages. There's the pre-pupal larval stage, and then there are 2 non-feeding stages. That's the pupa before they become the adults. Now, the females will typically lay their eggs in the leaves or in the buds of plants, and that's why they are known for West Indian flower thrips, right? Their life cycle takes about 2 weeks. Okay. So now the size of insect damage is very dependent on the way that they feed. So this is where I'm going to ask you all to sort of interact with me a little bit. So let's see. Now, who did this? Remember we spoke about with the caterpillars? And what is this called?
All right, so I'm waiting on the responses. I would say it looks like the skeleton of the plant that was eaten.
Right, so we call it the window. Remember we said that, the little ones, they eat so much, they cause what we call like a shining or window. Right, this is it, right?
Okay.
So what does this tell us about the mouth parts? Are they sucking?
All right, 1 minute. I'm just waiting on the responses in the Zoom chat. Right.
Because I can't really read the chat.
Oh, no, I can read it for you.
Okay, thank you.
The challenge with putting everybody's mic on, you're going to get a feedback that would disturb the presentation.
Okay,
so Kendra says biting, Avoni says they are chewing, Leticia says they are eating.
Well, yes, they are eating. But we're looking at the how are they eating, right? So yes, they are biting, they are chewing, and you see what we have here, we call a mandible, or that little jaw, and they have a little mandible palp. So what they do, they just kind of eat and they kind of cut away, right? So they break off little pieces. Right, how many of you are familiar with this guy?
Okay, as I wait on the responses, this is the first time I'm seeing this. As Aziel says, me, I know it. Avani says, mites.
No, not really a mite. A lot of people think it is a mite, but did you all know it does this? Take a look.
Oh my goodness. Josephine and Leticia said they're leaf miners.
Yes, they are. But did you know leaf miners were caterpillars?
Yeah, it does look like it.
And now you're seeing that black trail, that's called a frass.
Mm.
That's its caterpillar poo. How many of you knew that's what it was?
I didn't.
Right.
Kendra said yes.
Oh, wow. Kendra, you're very on top of things with your insects. Now I think I saw somebody was showing Dr. Sarah a plant that had a little bit of cupping going on, looking similar to this. Not as bad, but it was there. Who do you all think did this? Do you think they were biting?
It looks like they were sucking out all the water from the leaf, so it just curled up.
Right. Yes, it was sucking out
The water?
Cell membranes.
I see, okay.
Cell membrane, they're sucking out the sap from the inside of the cell. And we spoke about that a little earlier in terms of the life cycles.
All right. The participants are saying the same thing, sucking.
Yes, yes. They have a piercing and a sucking mouth part. Right, so like a little needle, it pierces in and it sucks. So whenever you see your leaves curling up like this and you're trying to figure out what sort of insect it is, what mouth part does that look like? It's a piercing and a sucking mouth part. Okay, so now we're going to look at what we call indirect damage. Sooty mole. Hold on, right, guys?
Sure.
I'm trying to mute my mic.
You want to mute your mic?
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, sorry about that, guys. My son was calling.
Not a problem.
So yeah, indirect damage. This is called sooty mold. I'm sure a lot of you all have seen this. It's sort of like a black sticky residue that's left, and it's usually observed after aphids and whiteflies have fed on plant tissue. Now, what do these two insects have in common? Their mouth parts are sucking, right?
All right.
Also, let's look at viruses. Viruses have a curling of the leaves. And what do we observe after? Also aphids and whiteflies. Do caterpillars cause viruses or sooty mold?
Yeah, I'm waiting on the responses in the chat. Josephine said no. Ali said it is if no, that's something else. Barbara said yes, they do cause viruses.
Caterpillars? No, not caterpillars, but yes, aphids and whiteflies do. They do.
Okay. Madeline or Miss Waldron said they probably transmit them. I believe she's referring, I'm assuming she's referring to the caterpillars.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Caterpillars do not transmit viruses, right? What is their function? They just eat. They eat so they can evolve. So their damage is usually, you'll see a lot of leaf damage, right? You'll see they will leave a lot of frass. which is a sort of wet, sort of kind of brownish poo they would leave on the plants, right? That can cause another form of indirect damage because of that moisture, wetness. It creates, as Dr. Sarah said, the right environment for other things to step into because it has now broken down the plant. So what will now enter is something, a bacteria, most likely, right? But it wouldn't cause a virus. You wouldn't get a virus from the caterpillars feeding. So let's look at some holistic methods of control. And we're moving on now to the integrated pest management, right? So we've heard about this many times, I'm sure. It is a comprehensive way using multiple strategies with when you recognize tolerable levels of insect or even disease management. And it has to do, of course, you have to look at the quality of the environment. The environment has a big part to play when we're looking at IPM. Now, a lot of people like to use the IPM model that sort of integrates itself like a Venn diagram where they sort of interlock. I do not particularly like that model. I prefer it in levels and stages, like the pyramid effect. So where you see the bottom and the most important part, the base of the pyramid will be prevention. As Dr. Sarah pointed out earlier, prevention is better than cure, right, guys? So we're going to try first to prevent. The next phase we're looking at is obviously cultural and the sanitation. And then we have what we'll call physical and mechanical, then the use of biological controls. And the last resort we tend to use, especially as you all are home growers, is chemical resort, right? Okay. So Dr. Sarah did show you all this earlier. This is a sticky trap, and it is a very good way for you to monitor the insect pests that are entering into your field, right? So that is the first thing. We need to identify and monitor. That is the first one. Then we need to evaluate what is exactly causing the problem. And that's what I'm saying. Like you will have to look and see how is it feeding? What are the symptoms that you're seeing? Is it really an insect? You know, it could be nutritional deficiency. You see, there are all these that could also cause the cupping and the curling of the leaves, right? Then we're going to look at what are the pest problems and how can we prevent them by using either resistant plants, planting earlier, crop rotation, or using barriers against these other pests, right? Of course, sanitation. Sanitation is very important, especially when we are trying to control insect pests. And then there's action. Now, what sort of action are you going to take? Now, you can either do what we call the mechanical action, where you could physically go out into the field and either pick off the little worms, or as you see, let's say one of the little bugs on your plant, you just pick them off and you kill them, right? So that also is a form of mechanical action as well. Some people might opt to spray. You can make your own sprays, your own homemade sprays. You can go for what we'll call the more environmental sprays that you'll get in the plant shop as well, if you cannot make your own. Or you can also look to purchase a spray depending on how severe, right? And more importantly, after you take action, you need to monitor it, right? You don't just take action and be like, oh, okay, well, this is okay. We're good now. We need to monitor. And when we're monitoring, we have to take what into account when we're monitoring, particularly insect pests. We have to look at the life cycles. So we need to know at what stage are we treating and how long that stage lasts. Notice I gave you all the days. And most importantly, then we'll monitor it, right? To know how effective our treatment was. Hold on, guys, hold on. Okay, yes, sorry about that, guys. Right, so are pests bugging your plants? So I've just done up a little listing of some environmental ways that you can make, things that you can make for natural insect pesticides. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the soapy water. This is where you'll mix some dish soap water and 4 cups of water in a bottle, and you can spray your plants with this solution. Now, this soap actually dehydrates what we call aphids and the spider mites, right? Because they are soft bodies. Now, beer. I'm sure a lot of you all don't know this about beer. You don't just have to drink beer. It actually works well on snails and slugs, right? So you could set out some sources of the beer, and you can prevent them from munching on your plants. And grape juice also has the same effect on grapefruit juice, right? Now, garlic. I'm sure a lot of you all are familiar with garlic. And the strong smell, actually, what is the attracts the bugs. Now, a lot of people like to crush the garlic and spray with it. But what you can actually do is you can plant it, and that also helps in keeping the bugs away. Just a minute. And of course, now we have pepper spray. A lot of you all are familiar with the capsicum in the pepper. And of course, we like to add a little bit of the dishwashing soap, right? And that sort of helps it to sort of adhere to the leaves, just sort of stick onto the leaves, right? And of course, we know the neem oil spray. Dr. Sarah pointed out the neem oil spray. And this is what you can also use to, it's like an anti-fungicidal spray as well, right? But it also repels your aphids and your mites and other little scale and soft body insects. So this is the interactive part, right? So we're gonna test our knowledge. I would like you to tell me, is it a direct or indirect damage? What type of mouth part do you think caused this damage? And how could we have prevented this? So we're going to look a little bit at the IPM and how will we control this, right?
All right, so I'll ask participants to raise their hand in the Zoom section area, and I will allow you to speak so that Miss Kenya can hear other person's voices.
Okay. Now you don't have to identify the crop itself if you can't, but the important
Kenya,
thing is
we're not hearing you.
Can I hear me?
Your mic is not unmuted.
You hear me? You hear me now?
Muted, sorry.
You hear me?
No, still not hearing you.
Are you hearing me now?
Okay. Okay, so it's probably on my end then. Another participant said they can hear. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Okay. So you don't have to identify the actual crop, but I just want you all to identify the damage of what I said. So you're looking at, I don't know if you need to copy this down. Is it direct or indirect damage? What type of mouth part, right? How could we have prevented this from happening? And how will we control this?
All right, guys, you raise your hands. First come, first serve. All right, Leticia, go ahead.
It's direct damage.
Mm-hmm.
The mouth part, well, it's the biting mouth part. I don't know what it's called, but it's the biting mouth part.
Yes, yes. I would take that.
How do I prevent it?
Mm-hmm. How would you prevent this from happening?
Well, I will have to watch for the eggs and make sure that the eggs don't develop.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a good one. What about your surroundings? Are you all noticing that dirt on the ground there? Part of the life cycle required it to do what? The people need to the soil.
Well, treat the soil, I don't know, maybe because as you said, some of these, the life cycle of these bugs, they're burying to the ground and they reproduce. So I could treat the soil so that anything that is in there I can kill.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a very good answer. Very good answer. Do you think with this amount, at this stage of the life cycle, to treat at this stage, right? Remember, this is the second stage with the caterpillar stage. This is not the big, the nice, big, juicy caterpillars, right? These are the many little ones. Do you think it makes sense to treat at this stage?
All right, let me see whose hand is raised. And while I'm waiting, there was a response in the chat from Avoni. She said plant basil or mint to deter the bug from the cabbage.
Very good. Yes. Yes. But in terms of, would you spray this chemically?
Okay, question.
Look at the stage of the cabbage.
All right, so Renee said no discard. Kendra said no treatment. Leansa also agrees, and Barbara says no treatment as well.
Exactly. You cannot treat it at this stage for two things. Not only are we looking at the insect pest, but you need to look at the stage the crop is at as well, right? Now, this is almost ready for harvesting, no? It has already balled and formed. If you look to spray this, and this is where we're going to get into pesticide labels. If you look to spray this at this stage, do you think that this crop is going to give you another 21 days? Probably not. You might have to harvest this in the next, oh, sorry, on my internet. You're going to end up to, you're going to expose people to pesticide poisoning, right? But did anybody ever think of what if we spray this, but we spray this using a biological, like an oil spray, making it difficult for the caterpillars to move, and also making it, or soapy water spray, making it dehydrating them. What do you all think? You all think that might work?
I'm seeing somebody saying, what about neem oil? And Barbara said yes, to what you just asked.
Yes.
And Renee said yes to your question, and Deborah said yes, you can eat the next day.
After you wash
Barbara said baking soda with a little soap, and Josephine said if you spraying prevents infestation, do not eat.
Okay, so what is this?
All right, so we're waiting, and if you guys want to speak, you could just raise your hand in the chat.
Right, yes, that's true, it's mold.
Ah, okay,
and
good.
who caused this mold? I figured out how to look at the chat.
Ms. Blackman said aphids.
Yes, aphids cause the mold. Right. So what are you going to do? You're going to take your time and wipe every leaf of the plant, or are we going to treat the aphids? And where do we find these aphids? On the top or the bottom of the leaves?
From the picture, it looks like on the top.
No, the mold is on the top, but where are the aphids?
I would say on the bottom.
At the bottom, yes.
And Deborah said the same thing as well.
Deborah, yes, on the bottom. On the bottom. So is this, what we're seeing here is this mold. This is mold direct or indirect? Very good, indirect, Rennie. Very good, Rennie. Indirect, right? Why didn't Rennie say it was direct? Okay, Avanes, if you remove all the leaves, then what will happen? You'll basically take out the whole plant. Now this is indirect. So yes, I could see why you want to remove the leaves, but because it doesn't look very nice. But at the same time too, don't you think if we treat the aphids, and what we do, we try to encourage new growth, right? So eventually, this would not be a problem anymore, because what is it that the leaves need? The leaves need, okay, no problem. Right, sorry about that, guys. Yes. Right. So we're going treat the aphid problem, and once we treat the synthesis occur, right? So yes, because the leaves need sunlight. Yes, you can spray with soapy water, and do you know that the soap water, not on the pumpkin or the cucumber or watermelon leaves, but on citrus, the soapy water eventually breaks down the mold and it will become less and less, right? But it wouldn't really work on the cucumber. We also will talk a little bit, since you brought up so much with the spraying, we have to know that less sometimes is more. We don't necessarily want to over drench the leaves, because you can also cause scorching and burning, right? Okay. What does this look like?
It looks like corn and worms are eating it, or bad corn and worms are eating it.
And are you seeing all this frass?
Yes.
That's soft, nice, brown, mushy stuff. How many of y'all would buy corn and in the air itself, still in its air, and when you all husk the corn, you all see this nice soft brownness on the inside?
I think I've seen that before.
Particularly at the top where they have the tassels.
Gladys has seen it as well.
Okay, so is this direct or indirect damage, guys?
It looks direct because I can see the caterpillars or the worms eating at it.
And what stage is this? Is this the very dangerous stage we spoke about?
It looks that way.
It is. This is where they are highly cannibalistic. They not only eat each other, but they will aggressively eat, right? Because why? They're going into that pupa stage. So it's like they're going to hibernate for a little while, right? So they need as much food as possible. Let's see anything. I'm sure a lot of y'all know what this is.
A bad buy at the market.
Yes, a bad buy at the market. This is sweet potato, guys. And what is this? What kind of mouth part? Are they sucking?
It doesn't look like they're gnawing at the sweet potato.
Right. And what would we call this? What sort of level is this? Remember we spoke earlier about there are two types of insects that I call. What are they? Subsurface and
deep surface.
I will take that. I'll take that.
Okay. 0.5.
I'll take it. I told you at the beginning, you'll have to pay plenty of attention because I ask you, right? So
Josephine is responding. She said subsurface. And Renee.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually accidentally said it.
Oh.
But nobody realized, so it's not going. All right, so this is the root of the plant that is being damaged, right? And this is being damaged by something that has a biting and chewing mouth part, what we call like a borer. It's boring holes in between. Now, remember what we were speaking about earlier? Y'all ever got sweet potato and eventually got sort of soft on the inside? After you all see this, it's kind of soft and it also tastes a little not bitter.
Can't remember. But Renee said yes.
Yes, remember we spoke about insects that have, this is causing both direct and indirect damage, right? Because what happens now, it leaves off the little exoskeletons and its poo and all of these little things on the inside, and it causes the root to taste bitter. Right, guys? So that's
Okay.
the indirect damage. And the direct damage is what we obviously see, it's actually gnawing away at the root of the sweet potato, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would we prevent this? We would want to have treated soil, right? So we want our soil to be clean because remember, this goes under the ground. So we want our soil to be very clean, right? We don't usually will not spray the leaves of the plant. We will more want to treat the soil, right? Okay, what does this look like? Oh, I forgot to take out the name. Oh my God.
Right. All right, I'm waiting on the responses to come in, whether raised hand or in the chat. So for now, it just looks like a tie-dye leaves.
What caused those tie-dye leaves?
So Leticia saying curly top virus. Kendra and Miss Waldron is saying leaf curl.
It is leaf curl. Yes, you could also call it curly top. Yes,
Right.
and this is caused by what? A sucking or a biting?
Kendra said sucking insects, and Josephine said a virus, aphid.
Very good. It's either an aphid or a whitefly that is causing this. So what do we treat? The plant or the insect? Want to treat the virus or the insect? But what's causing it?
If it's the sucking insect, then it will be the insect we treat then. Well, Leticia said both, and Leanne and Kendra said treat the insect.
We treat the insect, but how? But we could also treat the plant. That was a trick question. Leticia got it. Yes. We would want to also improve the health of the plant as well to stimulate new growth, right? Because as you can see what's happening here, I took this picture purposely, as you can see the top of the plant, right? And how it's curling up. So where does a plant grow from? Not the top? Yes? So if the new growth is being affected, even though we treat the plant itself, we would want to treat the insects, and we would want the plant to have enough nutrition so that it could generate new growth. A lot of people, when they focus on treating pests and diseases, they forget the plant health, right? So it is just as if you have a cold and you are taking medicine to treat the cold, let's say cough medicine, cold medicine, but you're not eating. Would your body be strong enough still to fight this?
Not at all.
No. So we have to always remember that even though we're treating the insect or even the disease that is attacking the plant, we need to make sure the plant has good health. A lot of the times, plants actually fall susceptible to pests and diseases, not only because the environment, but also because of the plant health itself, right? So the nutrition in the plant may be poor. And if the plant has poor nutrition, it would not be strong enough to stand up and to fight with its immunity and its defenses, right? So a healthy plant is less likely to get sick. Now, if you have a plant and you just leave it in a pot, you are not treating the pot, you didn't make sure the soil was healthy. It started off in a very poor environment. And then whenever you decide to remember to water this plant, you water your plant, right? So you're not caring for the plant as you should care for the plant. The plant is going to get sick, right? So the first thing we have to always remember is that a way of prevention is by simple, basic plant care, right, guys? So let's look at Josephine's tomato plant, right? I said I'll put it in there. So let's discuss based on what we learned. What did we learn today? What is going on with Josephine's tomato plant?
Guys, you could respond in the chat or raise your hand and speak to Miss Kenia.
All right, let me say the first thing. Anybody's noticing some curling of those leaves? Josephine, Josephine, could you unmute your mic and talk to us about what you have been seeing, because the picture might not capture it for everybody, what did you find were the problems based on what we also learned? Speak to it in terms that people would understand based on the presentation, what is wrong with the plants? So let's see, was it curling?
Okay. Hear me?
Yeah, go on, Josephine.
Yes, we can.
Right.
Yes, yes.
It's the tomato plants, they were about probably about 18 inches, could be more than that. And they had white flies, and we sprayed the white flies with oil and dishwashing liquid.
Right.
Probably over 2 weeks ago, and after that we realized no new leaves, no new growth, and some of the leaves, if you notice at the front, look kind of brownish kind of thing, and the leaves keep curling. They were curling before with the white flies, I assume, and that is it. It isn't growing at all.
So could somebody tell me why Josephine's plants stopped growing?
All right, Leticia said it probably indicates a lack of water.
Okay, that's okay, yeah.
Okay,
I don't think so, because look at the soil below it. It looks quite dark and moist. So it doesn't look like water is the problem.
No,
but
we watered it.
When we spoke about West Indian flower thrips, didn't we speak about those flower thrips? Where do they attack? Buds, right? So do you think that Josephine only had white flies, or there's a possibility she might have had some thrips? Because anybody seeing any flowers?
No.
No, no flower.
So is there a possibility Josephine might have had some thrips in there?
Oh.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Josephine probably had some thrips. Yes?
Oh,
She probably
okay.
had some thrips. And what is that blackness on the leaves? What is it? What do you think that is,
Right.
Josephine?
The leaves started getting kind of brownish, blackish, like a milk. I don't know if it's a mildew or something, and I don't know
what do you
is
think
that.
it is? We just learned about it. What do you think that is?
Is it
guys,
mildew?
you need to help Josephine.
Is it mildew?
It's not mildew. But somebody else.
Mold.
We saw it on the, yes. What kind of mold? What do we call the mold? It's called what?
All right, the answers are coming.
Sooty mold? I'm not
yes.
sure.
Sooty.
Josephine.
Okay.
You see, you know, you just have to tap into there. Right? So sooty mold.
Okay.
What caused that sooty mold? Most likely your white flies, right? And that's an indirect damage. So how would we help Josephine? Josephine, are you fertilizing this plant?
We put.
Or are you just depending on soil?
We put Nutrex.
Just in Nutrex?
That's all. Yes.
How much and how often?
Well, probably about every 2 weeks, Reginald, about every 2 weeks. Right, about every 2 weeks, you put a little Nutrex in water. And
every 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, so she has been feeding the plants to an extent, right? Just Nutrex.
But the leaves are not bright and, that healthy. The leaves look dull.
They do look dull. They do look dull. So it is a possibility. Nutrex actually is quite acidic. Okay. The Nutrex is also quite acidic. So there might be a little bit of imbalance in terms of your soil nutrition, right? Leaves require, yes, they require nitrogen, but we don't want to just focus on the leaves. We want to also focus on the roots of the plant, right?
Okay.
So we'll need some phosphorus in there.
Phosphorus, all right.
That helps with your roots. And remember, tomatoes also require a level of calcium, right?
Calcium,
when you are getting your, yes. So all those things in terms of the nutrient of the plant will help. Is this plant covered? It looks like it's kind of covered.
No, it's sun.
Direct sunlight?
Direct sunlight, yes.
Okay, all right, good. Right. Now, we also noticed that, what is that plant next to it there?
Next to it we have, what we have there? We have cabbage, and you mean a tall plant? Mustard, the mustard green?
Yeah, we have some mustard. The mustard also looks
Mustard.
like it's it has aphids as well.
But looking at the mustard looks good.
You find so?
Yes, bright and healthy, and I think so.
It is bright and healthy. It is bright and healthy.
Oh, okay.
But I find the leaves are also curling.
They started to curl, yes.
Yeah, they're starting to curl.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're starting to get affected.
So they got it from the tomato?
They would have gotten it from the tomato, yes.
Okay.
Did you cut any part of that tomato at all?
I pinch the top. I usually do. I pinch the top.
So Josephine, you realize that you took off the new growth, right?
Yes, at the top. But I usually do that when I am growing tomato, you know, and then it spreads.
Well, because tomato is something that grows with suckers, so it also grow at the sides as well, right? So that's the beauty of tomato. You might get that luxury with sweet peppers, but tomatoes they grow suckers, and they will usually sprout off on the side as well. Okay, so
excuse me, before going further, is it that I should not have pinched the top?
No, not when a plant is sick, right? You don't want to take off the appendages, especially when he's sick. It's just like if you're sick and basically you're trying to get back healthy, so you're trying to push new growth, and I'm taking it away. I keep taking it away from you.
Okay.
So I would have left it to sprout the new growth, and then you try to take out the diseased leaves.
Oh, okay, thanks. And the weeds we are seeing there, they grow up within a matter of the rain. Within a matter.
That's not bad. Your weeds aren't bad, right? The weeds are not too bad because they're low. They're not overpowering. So they actually form like a little bit of mulch, like a little ground cover. So it'll help keep in some moisture. So that's not too bad. Your weeds aren't too bad. But Dr. Isaac, Dr. George, you could probably elaborate a little bit on Josephine's weeds. But so far, guys, let's get back to Josephine's plant. So we have identified that Josephine has sooty mold. Yes?
Kenia?
Yes?
So, 1 minute. Gladys, your second. Gladys said that Josephine's, the ground, it seems to be crowded. Can she help by exposing the earth?
Yes, she can. I think it's because she planted her crops a little close, right? So that's another thing. I don't know if you'll go through that in terms of plant spacing. Yes? So
yes, Dr. George went through that.
Yes. Right, so plant spacing is very important. It's not really practiced here from what I see in the picture. Everybody's a little jumbled. And that also is a way of, you could also get some disease problems because you're gonna have what we call a high humidity. So a lot of moisture is gonna get trapped inside of there, right? Okay, so we know, yes, she could free up her space. She shouldn't be taking out her new growth. This plant doesn't look like it's trying to sprout any new growth right now. It has sooty mold, and that is caused from the whiteflies. She has no flowers, so more than likely she has thrips, right? There is a spray. First of all, let's recap. What is the average life cycle of, well, the thrips, whiteflies? We spoke about it earlier. 14 days. Yes, guys, 14 days. 14 days, right? So Josephine treated this, she said 2 weeks ago, and that's about 14 days, right? Do you think Josephine should have probably tried and treated this? Let's say the total life cycle is 14 days, but the eggs take about seven days, right? And for the instars to develop, those are 3 days. Instars, yes? You all remember? Yes?
Oh, but we're following.
Yes. That's what I tell you.
Yes,
pay attention in my class.
And the participants are saying yes.
Right, yes. So how often should Josephine be spraying her neem oil that was suggested? Every how many days? To get that control, get under control. How many days should Josephine be treating her plant? How many days apart should she be spraying? Every how many days?
I'd say every 3
too
days.
long.
Once per
Exactly.
week?
Very good. No, every 3 days. Every 3 days. So probably about twice a week because you're using an organic media, right? There is a product that can help you with this. I don't know if you all have it. The active ingredient. Oh God, why can't I remember? Like, no. Dr. Isaac, you know the active ingredient in Nimectin? Why can't I remember that right now? Why is that not coming to my head? What is the active ingredient in Nimectin?
Are you here, Dr. George?
But do you know the name of, you know the product, Nimectin?
Are you asking the class or Dr. George?
I'm asking class.
Okay.
I don't.
Neither do I.
Nimectin. I'm gonna look for it. I'm looking it up. Ivermectin. Right, so look for ivermectin. It's a biological insecticide. The active ingredient has to be ivermectin, right?
Spell that, please.
So copy that down. ABAMECTIN.
Okay, thank you.
It's a biological, let me see if I can put it in the chat.
And that's the active ingredient.
That's the active ingredient, right? Ivermectin. So look for that and you will spray this and try and spray once a week with the ivermectin.
A-V or
A-B-A. B
Okay.
as in bat.
Right, thanks.
Ivermectin, right? Yes. So first treat with the ivermectin once a week and try and spray every 3 days. And if you could probably get some muriate of potash, I'm sure you know that, potash.
Yes.
Right, try and get some potash and sprinkle some potash in there as well too, to kind of generate the root growth.
Okay, thanks. But do you think I should pull them out and start afresh?
How old are they?
They are about, probably I say about 4 weeks. 4 or 5 weeks.
No. Give him, try this treatment for 2 weeks. If it's not working, yeah, you'll have to pull him out. Because you want to see if we can generate the new growth and try to clip all the old ones.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so moving along.
Thank you
Good job, guys, with the Phoenix plant.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good
Thank
job.
you very much.
So now we're going to look at how to read and interpret a pesticide label. This is very important, right? So the first thing you're going to see is the trade name, which I just called one, right? Nimectin. A lot of you weren't familiar with it. So that is called the trade name. It is not something you will typically use to identify a product, right? Now we're going to look at the formulation. The formulation is very important. So we want to know if it's a wettable powder. We want to know if it's a solid. You know, we need to know what can mix. I don't know if you all went through pesticide formulation and how to mix your pesticides. Did anybody go through that with you? Like what two can mix and what two cannot mix? I'm sure that's coming up in a class.
They didn't go through that, Kenya.
Okay. Are they doing that? Are they
it's only safe,
okay.
only safe things we're doing. Only safe things. No chemicals.
Okay, then don't worry about it. But you had only seen how to interpret a pesticide label.
We could do something. We could do a recording on that and post it up for them some other time. Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll move along. Now, active ingredient, this is what you'll need to know, right? What is the active ingredient? Just in case you may not be able to recognize a particular trade name, you need to know the active ingredient. So as we just said, the active ingredient in Nimectin is what? Josephine? Josephine?
You want her to speak? Hold on.
Oh, she could type it.
Oh, okay. All right, Josephine, you can go ahead.
Ivermectin?
Right. So that's what you're going to ask, right?
Yes, thanks. So I'm going to ask for ivermectin, or is a product I will be asking for
any
all
product
that.
that has that active ingredient.
Good, thanks very much.
Yes. And then, of course, we're going to look at the quantity and the description. So is it a systemic? What does systemic mean? Meaning that when you apply that particular insecticide, we are going to get what? It's going to go into the insect itself, right? It's not going to stay on the surface. So we have contact and we have systemic, right? Systemic, it takes a little longer. Contact is right away, right? So when you all spray bug spray on the cockroach, is that contact or systemic?
Systemic, that's what I was thinking of.
Systemic.
Well, no, that's actually
No?
contact because he dies. How soon does he die? He dies in like what? Like in the same day, right?
Depends. Well, I see. Yeah. Same day. And depending on the bug spray too.
Yes. How strong it is. Some of them get immune to the bug sprays. So it doesn't work as effective as it should. But let's say rat poisoning. Rat poisoning is a systemic because he has to digest it, right? Right. And of course, you know the precautions at the bottom. These are your cautions. So you have them in yellow. It's slightly toxic, okay? When it's in a darkish orange, it is moderately toxic, right? When it's red, it can cause some damage and skin irritation. It is toxic. And when it is very dark red, and you see that little skull and crossbones and all that going on, it is highly toxic, right? So I guess in this class, you all will not be using any red and dark reds, right? Yes?
Yes.
So what is the most important thing to know when you are choosing a pesticide is knowing what pest you want to treat, right? Okay. So if I'm looking for something to kill thrips in my sweet pepper, I'm going to look for a herbicide, right?
Right.
Yes? Guys, I'm looking for a herbicide to kill my thrips.
Oh, Renee said no.
No. I'm not looking for a herbicide. What am I looking for, Rennie? Am I looking for a fungicide, a bactericide, a herbicide, or an insecticide?
Ms. Blackman said pesticide and Renee said insecticide.
Yes, an insecticide. I'm looking for an insecticide. So we need to look at the what? The label, right? So the label is going to list, what is it going to list? Josephine, the active ingredient. And it also tells you the type of pest and the particular compound will work on, right? And how to use it safely. It also tells you how much to use, so you know your dosage, yes? And when to use it and how to dispose of it, meaning the empty container. So these are all very important things that will be contained on your label. And remember what we realized, that there are many different brands of pesticides available. So you need to know your what?
The best brand.
Active ingredient.
Okay.
The active ingredient. Sometimes the best brand is very expensive, so you need to know the active ingredient. Sometimes what might distinguish the brand is not just the active ingredient, but how much of it is there, right? So we'll tell you how much you will need to use. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. So let's look at how to safely mix and apply and handle, dispose of pesticides. I realize this is a healthy class. So you don't really need to do this. But just for safety, before we dispose of anything, we need to triple rinse, right? And then what do we do with our containers? We put holes in our containers, okay, guys? So when we are disposing of our pesticide bottles, organic or not, we triple rinse it. And then what do? We put what in it?
Holes.
Right, we put holes, okay? And of course, we need to avoid pesticide exposure, right? So we need to have our protective gear. So this, I found this was so nice for like people at home. so it's not only heavy big gear. You have your regular garden gloves, your shoes, your feet need to be covered, right? Long sleeves, and of course, you need to have on some sort of protection on your eyes, right, guys? Right?
Correct.
So, interaction again. What's missing? What are these people doing wrong?
No gloves, no hat, no long sleeves. And I can't see the feet, so I'm assuming that they're wearing a whole shoe.
No, I think they're barefooted.
Oh my. So
Right.
no
But
PPE.
no PPE at all. But more importantly, look at this guy who's mixing pesticides in a barrel. And he's taking water from that barrel. Why is his container on top of the barrel with the water, and he's pouring pesticides over the barrel? So what can actually happen is that he's probably contaminated his water. That's the first thing. Secondly, if he's using another pesticide that might not necessarily agree with the one he's using now, he could cause to burn his plants, right? Because of the reactions. Right, guys?
Yes.
Yes. So we realize that they're not even wearing long sleeves. Their feet are not fully covered. And he's spraying in the field. Look at the second picture. He's spraying. There's a guy just traipsing through the field while he's spraying. Is he supposed to be doing that? If somebody is spraying a field, are you supposed to just be casually taking a leisurely stroll in the field while he's spraying?
Oh my goodness. So from the way you're asking the question, no.
Well, no. No. Whenever you see somebody spraying, you are not supposed to be in the field. That is not the time you're going to ask them what they want plunge, right? At that time. And after we finish spray, what do we want to do ideally, guys? Do we take our clothes and just put it in the hamper with everybody else?
Oh, not at all. In a separate hamper. Or wash it right away if possible.
Yes, but do we wash our hands and face?
I would say yes, although we would have had the gloves and the protective wear for the eyes. I would say yes, just for safety. Yeah, and Gladys said we bathe.
Yes, we do bathe. Yes. But some places water is not always permissible to take like a full bath all the time. So we just try to wash off. So I just want you all to see this conventional versus organic. Are you all hearing?
It hasn't started playing as yet.
Are you all hearing?
I'm not hearing. Is anybody hearing? Okay, I'm hearing something. Yes. It's faint. It's kind of in and out. Okay, I'm hearing.
It's just the music and more able to read.
Kenia.
Yeah. What was on? Just like 3 more minutes. Y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is the last slide.
Ah, okay.
It's like a little summary, which I'm going to ask questions on.
Hmm.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you.
Do we have
You're
any
welcome.
questions that you all want to ask?
Yes, there are questions. So let me just go through it with you. And if anything, I can always allow you to speak to the participant. We did look at Josephine's plant. And I think Joy had a question about melangine.
Oh, yes, with her leafhoppers.
Right.
Yes, yes. Okay, guys, let's talk about Joy's leafhopper issue. Why is it that her leafhoppers keep coming back?
All right, so I'm waiting to see the responses in the chat or if anybody's raising their hand.
What questions will you all want to ask Joy that's causing her to have such a high invasion of leafhoppers in her melangine?
So the questions are coming in slowly. All right, so Ms. Hoyt said probably the environment conditions are great for the leafhoppers, if that's what it's called.
Yes, yeah, you could call them leafhoppers, yes.
Okay.
Okay, Joy, could you tell us a little bit about the environment? That's the first question we want to ask anybody when they are they're having some issues with their crop. We're going to ask them. So, where is it planted? What else? What other crops are around?
It is planted in the front of the yard, and well, I got melangines already over the years, but I replanted some, and they're just flowering. they're not coming in, you're not seeing no fruit, and you have these little small like bugs, greenish looking bugs all over it on the leaves.
This sounds like aphids. They sound like aphids.
You heard me?
Yes, yes. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
You said they sound
Yes,
like,
I'm hearing you.
You sound like you have some aphids. Joy, are you spraying them with anything?
Well, I used neem recently to spray. I used some neem and sprayed it last week. So I don't know if I should give it a next application of neem, but I'm not seeing, or just seeing small flowers, but no, it's not coming to fruit. I have about 3 trees planted.
Okay. How old are the trees?
They're old, meaning that they're there for a while. Must be over 2 months, 3 months. They're there for a while.
More than likely, you have a little bit of stunting. You might probably have thrips as well. Other than just your leaf hoppers, I suspect your environment is probably a little moist. So you have some humidity going on. Neem, I would not say is the best form of control. How often should you spray neem? Neem, because it's a biological, we tend to try to use them like 3 to 5 days intervals, right? I have a farm myself, and I try to use as much biological as possible, and it is very taxing. You have to spray like every 3 to 5 days, sometimes twice a week you are spraying, because it's not as harmful. But it also takes a little longer to act, right? And you have to constantly try to catch the life cycle. So that's why the life cycle is very important. Most importantly, Joy, I will not use the neem. I will probably try something a little stronger. You could probably try to use the pepper spray. And you could probably also try to plant some marigolds as well. And the basil keeps them away.
Well, I planted a basil tree, but not next to it, but I planted a basil tree around it, not too far from it. That plant
It has to be a little closer.
All right, okay.
A little closer, right? Another thing that a lot of y'all don't know, if you'll use for the hoppers, if you use like a reflective sort of mulch, and if you don't have that, like the white mulch, you could probably use just foil, like tin foil, and you can put tin foil at the base, and that reflection actually deters them.
All right, okay.
So, any other questions? Spray is not applicable to hoppers. Is it stink bugs?
Yeah, there are more questions, Miss Kenya.
Oh, almost you spray with me.
All right, do you want me to go ahead, or you want to look at what you're now seeing in the chat?
Yeah, no,
okay, go ahead. Oh, shoot, sorry. Okay, so we have Miss Ali. She says that her bitter orange trees are has sooty mold on it. And it is even seen on the fruit, so she would scrub the fruit before using it.
Okay. You most likely, as I said earlier, you would have aphids. Another thing to try to break it down, you could use the dishwashing spray to help to spray as well. Dr. George, are they using organic as well on the citrus or no? Dr. George?
Yes, okay. And now have mic access. Yeah, I believe they should, but because the tree is a large tree, well, I presume, I think they should use something a little stronger for now. Just a one-time thing to just
knock it out. Yeah, just a one-time, just to knock it off.
Yeah, just to get it under control.
So it is okay, guys, sometimes to use a little harsh chemicals as long as you adhere to the days, right? If you are using the harsh chemical, I suggest that you pick off your fruits first, and then you can use it. Hold on. Right, yeah, sorry about that. So who's that person for that question? Okay, I can't remember his name, but what you could probably also do is
That's Ali, and Ali said it's a large tree.
Okay, so if it is a large tree, I would think that you could probably use something that's more contact. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
Right. Sorry. Yes. Okay, so I would probably try and use something, a contact insecticide for the aphids, right? Something that's for treating pyrethroids. I cannot give you a name because, like I said, it will be a common name. So you're looking for something that will treat a pyrethroid, or what we call like a soft body insect. You would spray the tree. You would most likely have to use either some sort of misting spray, because you want to get all in between as well. And you'll spray the environment just around it, like around the soil. You could also use your soap spray as well. I also find that any copper-based fungicide also helps in reducing the amount of sooty mold that appears on the fruit.
All right, thank you. Yes, Ali responded. Ali said, okay, great. Moving to Ms. Hoyt, she was asking if soap water would affect the soil organisms.
Yes and no. As I said, it depends on the quantity that you're using. Remember, what the soap water does actually is dehydrates the body of the insect, right? So if it is you have beneficial microorganisms, if you do put soap water, which is like a disinfectant, it would kill your beneficial microorganisms. I mean, if you soak it, you understand? If it is that you're spraying and some falls onto the soil, no, not really. It wouldn't be enough. But if you drench the soil with it, yes, you would kill the beneficial microorganisms, because that's what disinfectant does. Yeah.
All right, thank you. For Ali, what did you say copper-based is?
Copper-based fungicide.
Okay. All right, thank you. Moving on to Lennox. He says, I have bad memories with this. I had to physically check the patch daily to kill the baby caterpillars. It was tedious work, but we reaped healthy cabbage in the end. That was in reference to the cabbage picture that you shared.
Oh, yes. That also works. That also works. What you could have also done is you could, when you get your seedlings, you could try spraying. I remember I said soft body. The soap actually dries them out, so you can spray them with the soap water. So you could spray a little cabbage with soap water. Not too much.
Thank you. Josephine asked if there are holes in the vine of the sweet potato. Is that a sign of rot, that the roots are being eaten?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is. Yes.
Thank you. We have about 3 more to go. Kendra
So we
says,
have different stages of the life cycle.
Sorry, repeat that, please.
Remember, there are different stages of your life cycle. Let me see if I can go back. I'm going to go back. I'm going to share my screen. Right. Remember, there are different stages of your life cycle. So this is the beetle, the borer. So you have your egg, and then you have your larvae, and then you have your pupae, right? So chances are, if your larva, what you're seeing is being eaten, the larva is eating the leaves, chances are the pupa is already at the underground, right?
Okay. All right, thank you. Moving on to the next one, Kendra. How do we treat plants in this case? And this was in reference to the sucking insect for the curl top picture.
In terms of nutrition for the plants or the insects that affect the plants?
I'm not certain. Could you answer both, please?
Okay. In terms of the plant itself, if you use your micronutrients such as boron, it encourages new growth, right? So if you have any as well, if you could get your hands on anything that has like the cytokine in it as well, that will help generate the new growth. That also helps. In terms of the sucking insects, the same thing with the ivermectin. That is a systemic insecticide. It's a biological systemic insecticide that will also treat particularly well, I find, for sucking insects. Yes.
All right, thank you. Two more.
Spray, your neem, your garlic spray, that also works, right? But again, when you're using these biologicals, you need to spray at least once to twice a week, depending on which part of the life cycle that you guys catch, right?
Thank you. Gladys wanted to know how could she obtain potash?
The agro shop will have it. The agro shop will have it. It's like a white sort of substance.
All right. Julian asked, Julian heard that crushed eggshells are beneficial to the tomato plants. Is that true?
Yes, because of the calcium, but you don't just crush the eggshells and put them in. You need to bake it. So you need to wash your eggshells, bake it, crush it, and then you need to soak it in warm water to extract that calcium, right? Just putting the crushed eggshells, yes, but you have to incorporate into the soil. It takes a little longer. By the time it gets to that point, the tomato wouldn't benefit that tomato plant, but the next tomato plant, yes. So if you want it to benefit that tomato, you need to help it along. You need to crush it up. You need to bake it first, right? Then you need to crush it up. And then you need to add it into water. So it's like a half and half mix. So half the amount of the powder to half the amount of water. So it's like a 1-to-1 ratio. And you leave that to soak for about 3 days. And that is what you would use to drench. And it's a direct drench. You don't break it down any further.
Is the baking done in the sun?
No, in the oven. In the oven, sorry.
Okay.
You can do it in December, it will just take really, really long.
All right. And we're moving to the last, well, 2 more questions.
No, do not microwave the egg. Do not microwave it.
Oh, that's good that you said that.
I forget somebody might be thinking.
Kendra asked, what micronutrient was that? Boron and something else.
Boron, iron, molybdenum.
Could you repeat it, please? Your internet dropped a bit.
Oh, sorry. Boron, iron, and molybdenum.
All right. Boron, iron, and molybdenum.
Molybdenum, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Is it possible that you could leave your email address with the class so that if there are any further questions?
Dr. I could share. Dr. George, you could share it, yes. I should put it in
All right. All right. Thank you. Well, this is it for now. Ms. Kenia, thank you so much. And you and your son kept us active, ensure that we're focused on the presentation. So thank you for that.
I will be doing nothing and he would not bother me. Even if I am busy, he will find it time that he needs something.
Yeah, we are taking away his mommy's time. All right, I'll hand over to Dr. George, and I believe all the participants are very thankful for it. The thank you messages are coming in. So thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your question and answer. Yes. Is that Kenia.Campo?
Yes, it is. That's a dot. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
All right, Dr. George, the floor is yours.
Oh, no problem. No problem, guys.
All right, and I'm the mic off. Mic on, right. Yes, thank you so much, Kenya, for your tremendous amount of information you shared with the participants today. I'm hoping that they got most of their questions answered. I have Avanal, she had some other further questions, but I want to invite Kinder to, I know as Kinder also, I want to invite Kinder to join us on the Google Classroom. I don't know if she'll have time to go through some of the questions that the participants have there that posted as well. So in addition to emailing her at kenya.campo, you could also please, Ms. Campo, check on the Google Classroom. I will invite you as a teacher.
Invite me, but use my Gmail. It's the same thing as Yahoo, but just put Gmail. Yeah, it's easier to access Google Classrooms when you have a Gmail, I find.
Right, okay, all right. That's probably why a lot of the members can't get access to it. I don't know if that is the major reason. All right.
That is the major reason, yes.
All right. Okay, well, I will do that. Again, thank you so much.
Because they have to download the Classroom app. Hello?
Oh, okay.
They have to download the app, but you won't get it on your desktop. So you have to use like a tablet, you have to use a phone, like an Android app, to download the Google Classroom app, and then you have to download the Hangout app in order to gain access. But these things already come with your Gmail, so it's not that easier.
So for those of you all in the group who don't have access as yet, that's probably the reason. So if you could send me an alternate email address, I could probably invite you all. All right. So this has been a very informative session. I had two very excellent presenters today, and my internet is unstable. I don't know why. Now getting a message here. Hope you all could hear me. Right?
Yes, we're hearing.
We want to thank them very much. And we want to thank Antias too for joining us. I saw him and his little puppy at one point in time.
Oh yes, we got a puppy. We found him in food production actually.
Oh, okay. I hope that's not the dog that was attacking people recently.
Yes, yes. Versus mommy.
All right. Anyway, we want to thank all the participants. We went up to 50 and then we're back. Now we're back to 42 now. But Ms. Campo, if you realize a lot of these are ladies, a lot of ladies, because this is true women's ministry, we are doing this. So you'll see a lot of ladies here. So a lot of them probably, I don't know if they started to cook as yet. So hopefully they will have an opportunity to go and cook now. And I'm hoping that you cooked before you did this session.
I did not.
That's probably why Auntie is behind you. So, all right. So we had a nice session.
Food, yes.
All right. We had it's almost 3.5 hours we are at it right now. So, want to thank you again.
I'm sending the presentation in the group chat. You just have to.
All right. Okay. That would be good. We are recording as well. We are recording as well, so that we usually upload it onto YouTube and we share it in the Google chat room. In the Google Classroom. So I will send that for you.
I couldn't send the presentation because of the YouTube videos.
Okay.
So via email it was too heavy.
All right. No, but we will have it on this. So that should be all right. All right. I will download it probably later tonight. Okay. So again, thank you everyone. Thank you, Ms. Campo. And what I want to tell you all is that today we dealt with diseases, we dealt with insects, but you didn't deal with weeds. And there was a question on weed management, and one of the participants, I think she showed a picture with some weeds. I mean, those weeds are okay because the plant was much bigger than the weeds itself. So they were.
Oh, you're talking about the tomato plant?
Yes, the tomato plant, right? Yes, but I will do a session on weeds, and I will post it up for you all. But if you all have any questions on it, you could always tell me during the week. All right, I will try to post it up by tomorrow. So I will do it without questions, but you can ask me the questions after because I'll post it up. All right, so with that, I want to tell you all have a good day and enjoy the rest of the week. Have a productive week. And you know what? I was thinking after Kenya did her presentation that I should give you all a quick quiz at some point in time in the WhatsApp chat. So I will send you all a quiz to see if you all are reviewing your work. I hope you don't mind. So I will send you a quick quiz, all right? But of course, I'll give you the answers after, all right? It's not for any marks or anything. All right, so continue using your templates to do your presentations, and make sure to post it up on the Google Classrooms. I saw one person started to post it up already, but they didn't follow my template, all right? So if you could redo it and put it in your template, that would be good and appreciated. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we have a few gentlemen as well, Lennox and all the others. I want to thank you all again and do have a great week.
All right, all the mics are muted. Bye.
Thanks again to Ms. Green.
Bye.
Such a wonderful host.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay.
Bye, handsome.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my.
All right, so the presentation was posted up. Let me download it one time.
Dr. Isaac, Ms. Hoyt is asking when is the journal template supposed to be submitted?
That's probably in the second to last week in August.
Okay.
Before graduation.
All right.
All right? Okay, yes. Then. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
So I'm going to end the meeting, okay, Dr. George?
All right, okay, and you can stop the recording too.
All right.